The iRacing special event calendar touches down in the sprint car capital of the world. It's Knoxville Raceway, the half-mile banked dirt oval. It's time for the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. The special event journey takes us all across the globe, endurance event, NASCAR Cup events, but today we go racing for what is one of the greatest races of all of dirt racing, the granddaddy of them all. Welcome to RaceSpotTV, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati. I'm delighted to be joined by Jonathan Burke with Tyler Maxon down in the production truck. And Jonathan, just a week ago, the 60th Knoxville Nationals took place, and guess what? It was Kyle Larson taking home the checkered flag. This is a race where drivers of different disciplines have been able to come and take the challenge, but today we'll see the best of the iRacing dirt community taking to the track in our super session. Qualifying has effectively been going on throughout the entire week, drivers getting Monday through Friday to get their own run at the Nationals. Today, though, it's been whittled down to the top 60 in points. We're in for a real treat.
A real treat, and it's going to be the best of the best. I have seen plenty of good results, plenty of good action across all the week, and so many different guys to talk about at the front. But you've mentioned someone like Kyle Larson, who's been quite dominant on the dirt ovals. We got to talk about the main guy, Alex Bergenson, here tonight. He's going to be the one, I think, to look out for.
Alex Bergeron, a multi-time world champion here on the iRacing service and a multi-time race winner at this very track itself. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this race and indeed of some of the history here on the iRacing service of our special events, because it is such a fun calendar that we've had. Start on the high banks and now we make our way here to Knoxville. You can see, getting down to the business end of things. Next up will be Darlington after this, so NASCAR iRacing Series action will continue. Then we will head to Bathurst for the 1000. Of course, the V8 Supercars taking center stage. VCO partners with the iRacing team for Petit Le Mans before we go dirt racing once more for Crandon. Head to Phoenix, head to Suzuka, and then two very interesting races to clear things off. We'll go for the Winter Derby at the end of November and then the iRacing Chili Bowl. Always a fun time as we head indoors at the Tulsa Expo Center and we get some fun. Here's a look, though, at the race facts. 60 cars, like I said, have made their way into this main event. First year that we're running the Knoxville Nationals on the iRacing service. It is a bank track, but only about 8 degrees of banking, and we are going to get, crucially, Jonathan, track resets throughout the night.
Yeah, the track's going to reset. We're going to start at about 3% usage at the start of the heats. However, that's going to build up, so some of these later heats and later mains, you know, they're not going to reset right away. We will get a full reset, however, for our main event. And again, this is the sprint car capital of the world. A famous movie said it best, is this heaven? No, it's Iowa, it's Knoxville. Top 60, as we mentioned, are eligible in the weekly points, and this real-life race has been run since '61, and it's a fun race to watch, and this is one of the greatest tracks for sprint car racing. I'm so excited it's been added to the iRacing calendar.
And like I said, the drivers had Monday through Friday to really get some practice under their belts to get themselves qualified for what we call a super session here on the iRacing service. And again, that's how we did things last year for the Chili Bowl. It's how we'll do things once more through the remainder of this special event calendar and the rest of these interesting runs that we get to. Just to let you know, by the way, Jonathan and myself, very much the B team when it comes to commentary. Your World Championship duo of Chase Roudman, who was on location last weekend for the Knoxville Nationals, and Justin Prince were unable to take part in today's festivities. Instead, Jonathan and myself taking you through what should be a very entertaining evening of action. Qualifying has come to a close. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting grid for the first of 6 different heats. And so, taking us to the first of our green flags, it will be Tyler Schell, a World Championship competitor with a win in the sprint cars, alongside another World Championship competitor, Braden Eiler, with Braith Kalin and Stephen Vogelsong, 3rd and 4th. Landon Cardosa and Brandon Surratt, 5th and 6th positions. As we work our way through what should be a very entertaining first heat, it will be Justin Givens, Josh Hofer, 7th and 8th, Harry Graham, Melvin Persali, 9th and 10th. So 10 cars in each of these heats, but interestingly here, Jonathan, we were kind of trying to determine how this alphabet soup of B mains and C mains and D mains was going to work here. The top 3 in each of these heats will advance directly to our 35-lap feature. From there, it becomes a little bit more difficult. Drivers might have to work themselves all the way from the E main through the D main, then the C main, finally the B main, before they finally get one driver advancing to the feature.
Yeah, and if you're in this field, this main in particular, it's a heavy-hitting field. We're talking about Shell and Eiler, both, you know, Pro Series ranked drivers. Shell has over 1,000 wins on the dirt over Eiler, the defending World of Outlaws season winner here last year. And then Landon Cardoza, a little bit of an underdog here. However, he's sitting second in the Season 2 split in points in the World of Outlaws A Series. So keep an eye on that guy. But like 3 heavy hitters, they may take those 3 transfer slots.
And, well, qualifying in such a quick time. You get 3 minutes and 2 flying laps, so we'll get to see some of the big names, including Alex Bergeron, who I really do think is going to be the one to beat this evening. I was going to say the season, but we are not far away from resuming our iRacing World of Outlaws competition. Here we go then for the first of what will be 6 heats, 10 laps for each of them. We will have cautions enabled in every single one, but at least for the heats, caution laps will count. So if we get a bit of carnage, we get a bit of chaos, things will slow themselves down. Jonathan, I want some expectations for you here, because these wing sprint cars, they are so much fun, so much power. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how drivers migrate from potentially the bottom to the top line over the course of the evening before those track resets.
Yeah, and we've seen a few times so far this week that guys have been able to work their way through the field and do some passing, and I think it's going to be pretty challenging for guys to work their way up if they don't transfer right away. You're going to see a big fight, I think, between 3rd, 4th, and 5th just to make sure they can get closer to that A main.
It is the Knoxville Nationals. It is the granddaddy of them all. The green flag flies for the first time today. We are underway for our very first heat race. Already single file at the front of your field. It's only side by side. Further back, of course, all of these drivers know 3 transfer positions on offer. The rest of the drivers work their way through the alphabet soups as Tyler Shell, Braden Eiler, and Braith Kalin currently in those transfer spots. Look at Steven Voselgang, though. He's looking to try and get past.
Yeah, it's just really tricky right now to pass. You're going to want to try and get that track in, really use this bottom groove until that top becomes a bit faster. Voselgang is going to look to the inside, but how defensive do some of these other guys play, you know, just to stay in that B main?
3 laps in the books already. These laps really do tick on by. We're talking 15-second lap times, and so we'll be hoping that we keep this clean, and so we don't get those cautions that really will bog down the racing. Lap 3 now in the books as we work our way towards the halfway point. Look at that battle for 3rd and 4th position. A car gets up into the wall. I think that was Landon Cardoza. That will allow the 32 car, Braden Surratt, to try and make something happen, but nothing doing so far. Still the top 3 comfortably in front.
Yeah, Cardoza was trying to look on the outside and get a big run down into 3 and 4. The problem is this backstretch. It's actually a lot thinner than the front stretch, about 20 feet thinner to be exact, so a little bit less room to work with than when you're coming out of turn 4 compared to turn 2.
Of course, we saw the NASCAR Truck Series race around here for the very first time. A totally different experience. Still down on the low side, but cars sliding themselves up. That will throw a little bit more dirt up onto the outside cushion. And I have a feeling by the time we get to the final heat race of the evening, we may see the outside line being the preferred one. Already cars running themselves up the wall into those the cushion up on the outside. That's the 47. Going to be a bit confusing here today because cars are allowed to run whatever numbers they want on their paint scheme, so it might not necessarily match the ones that we have, but almost done with this first heat. It's still Shell, Eiler, and Kalin looking comfortable.
Yeah, Shell and Eiler pulling away from the field. Braith Kalin, normally a guy who's been really strong in the 358 big blocks and the 305s, hasn't had that much experience in the 410, so very impressive heat, I think, from him to get himself in this A main. But what can that 47 machine of Voselgang and what can the 5 of Cardoza do? Because they're fighting hard.
Braden Eiler has a victory here back in the 2020 World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Championship Series, but it might be too little too late for him to challenge Tyler Shell. Checkered flag flies. It will be Shell, Eiler, and Kalin advancing. The rest of the drivers working their way into the alphabet soup. 1 heat race done. Still 5 more to go. They are well and truly going to fly on by. Here's a look at these race results. Shell, Eiler, and Kalin, the 3 drivers who advanced, 2 from Pennsylvania, 1 from the land down under. The rest of the drivers working their way into those heats We'll have to wait and see how many of them elect to stay around, though, as here we go. Heat number 2 already on the block. Clayton Tilley and Dean Geraghty first and second, with Braden Finsell and Colin Cure third and fourth. Miles Jansen and Joe Bornhorst fifth and sixth positions. Once more, a 10-car heat race here today. We'll wait and get the rest of your drivers up on your screen. It will be Kenneth Dake in seventh alongside Zachary McKay. Casey Wheeler and Tanner Thomas completes our 10 cars ready to go. Interesting to see Jonathan already single file at the front and really not too many moves happening. I think partially the track not necessarily allowing that just yet, but potentially seeing some comments in the chat as well. As the track is going to evolve over the course of the evening, the top drivers will have multiple setups ready to adapt to the changing track conditions.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things in dirt racing is how this track will change and evolve, and I think it's always tough being in that first heat and the first one out there when you hit the dirt, because you just really don't know what you're running into yet. Like, iRacing says what you're kind of running into, but you just don't get a feel. And then afterwards, now these guys are just getting the aftermath of that first heat. So we'll get to see this group go out now. Maybe a bit more passing, maybe a guy's a bit more aggressive, trying to get up into that third and fourth position. We saw third almost unchallenged all last heat.
Definitely don't think that's going to be the case through the course of at least these 6 heats, and then once we get into the consolation races, which will allow the drivers to work themselves up into that main event. Only 35 laps, it should be noted. We're not running the full 50-lap race distance, but caution laps will not count. Always an interesting time here at the Knoxville Raceway. The pace truck is down onto pit road. We are green for heat number 2. Wonderful jump from Tilley, but Geraghty is already feeling the pressure. It's side by side. Finsell and Cure for third and fourth position. Finsell slides up the track now, tries to get underneath the car in second position. Almost 3 wide. They work themselves in towards turn number 3.
A little bit of contact right there. You can see Finsell trying to be really, really aggressive early on. He knows Geraghty is going to be one of the guys to beat later on. A big move on the outside. Well, at least Tilley's just watching the carnage from front, unchallenged for the lead.
He's 7/10 clear now. There's contact.
Big crash.
That's the stack up. About 7 cars get involved. Our first caution flies on today's action. And wow, it was third and fourth position that came together. I think Finsell has just about managed to scrape on through, but Geraghty, I think, one of the main cars involved, along with Colin Cure.
And these were guys that have been pretty powerful in the dirt community that now had to work their way up. Geraghty especially, you know, but the week beforehand in the regular season dominated at Bristol and was pretty strong at Knoxville. So not exactly the result he wants to see so far.
It was 3 wide exiting the corner as we take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay. There you see the 7 car sliding up the track, and well, he's all the way to the wall, coming down just into the path. I think that's of Colin Cure, and well, here it comes, 3 wide on the exit of the corner. Doesn't always work out, and about 3 different cars that were coming through had nowhere to go. They get collected. Sickening incident for the number 7 car, but here we go. It does look as though, in fact, caution laps do not count in these heat races, kind of contrary to what we had been informed. So, well, the laps don't count on. We still on lap number 3, still plenty of time. The question is, can anyone challenge Clayton Tilley?
Man who holds the world record in these cars in terms of fastest practice time, fastest qualifying time, and fastest race time. In this heat, like, it's going to be hard to beat, especially now. Like, how many of these cars got damage after that? You know, Zachary McKay, who was riding in 9th, is now all of a sudden in the 3rd position. There you can see that white machine right there. So we just don't know how well some of these cars are going to handle now.
We'll have to wait and see. Like you said, McKay's up 5. Dake in the number 13 is up a number of positions as well. The funny thing about coming here to the dirt on the iRacing service is sometimes our timing and scoring goes a little bit wonky, so I'm waiting for mine to reset. Casey Wheeler is also up 4 positions. Looks like only 1 retirement. That is Dean Geraghty in the number 7 machine, waiting for the pace truck to come back down onto pit road. We are in heat number 2 out of 6, 3 laps in, and about 7 cars involved in our first caution on the night. It's a long hold from Tilley. We are back to the action here at the Knoxville Raceway. Finsell, can he look in his rearview mirrors and see Zachary McKay coming? No, it's single file for now. Watch, though, as the dirt continues to be slung up the track. Some of the YouTube chat saying the track is bad now. It's going to get increasingly worse as we go through the night.
Yeah, that's when it gets fun.
always fun. And it's really interesting watching the action in the real world last week when they came across lap traffic. Not necessarily a factor, of course, in these heat races, but definitely going to be a consideration in that 35-lap main event when we get to the main action itself and the race to the checkered flag. Tilly is once again broken out about a 4/10 of a second advantage. McKay sits comfortably in the bubble spot. That number 13 car not really able to close and make anything happen.
I was expecting that Blue K to be a little bit more aggressive in Donkey Jr. He is a pro-ranked driver, did run a few of the WoW season in 2019, did not see him in 2020, and maybe can make up some time here as the track is evolving. He's only got so much time left to work with. He's even looking for grips somewhere, Arjun, all over the place, on the bottom, on the top, just trying to find something.
Don't think you want to be down on the berm, at least for the time being. I do think we're starting to see cars migrating their way up. It might be a little bit difficult to make stuff happen, and hopefully we don't have a bit of a procession like we did during the iRacing Chili Bowl. It was interesting when we went midget racing indoors, but I think this is a very different sort of a proposition. Tilly comes to take the white flag this time around. He's another driver from Australia, an international flair for not just in the real world, but the dirt community here on the iRacing service. As the white flag is in the air, it should be Tilly, about half a second clear of Finselda, will advance along with Zachary Mackay. So Heat 2 is in the books, so plenty of racing to go.
I think Donkey got some damage, though. He's going to be down in some of the lower mains. I think he made a risky move trying to get Mackay.
And so here's a look at those race results. Australia, Ohio, and the Great Plains represented now in our feature. The rest of the drivers working their way into the consolation races. These heats, that's the great thing about dirt racing. Whether it be Rallycross, whether it be World of Outlaws action, they really just fly on by. Let's take a look then at our starting grid for heat number 3, and it's where we find the man himself, Alex Bergeron, a multi-time champion in the World of Outlaws in the sprint cars, looking to try and win the Knoxville Nationals. Alongside will be Chris Lacey in the number 22 with Corey Wenzel, Bryce Bailey 3rd and 4th. Keaton Tripp and Nathan Dowd will line up in 5th and 6th positions with Bryce Menn and Jacob Snyder, Nigel Adams and Jeremy Bushi rounding out our 10-car heat. So almost halfway through the heats, and ultimately this is the man we were all waiting to see, Jonathan. Alex Bergeron takes us to the green flag.
Bergeron, 3-time champion, 16 wins in the Pro Series. 81.51% win on any dirt oval race this man participates in. It's just a menace. I don't want to see him in the rearview mirror.
And he's just so consistent, whether it be late model racing or here in the sprint cars as well. So always fun to watch him race, and a track that he's won at before. He's got a win in the late models dating back to 2019. He's got 2 wins in the Sprint Car Championship at this track, 1 in 2018, 1 in 2019. So definitely thinking we should see Bergeron looking very, very comfortable. We talk about I-rating sometimes when it comes to these drivers. Very strong field here today. Bergeron has 9,000 I-rating. Lacey has 4,400. Wenzel has 5,300. And Bryce Bailey, 7,100 I-rating. So a very strong field. And for those who are new to the iRacing service, it is 1,400 that everyone starts with. So just gives you an indication of just how strong these drivers are and how much time and effort they put in here on the iRacing service. It is a world champion out front who will take us to the green flag. It's going to be fun. It's going to be hectic behind, though. 3 transfer spots, of course, in each of these heat races. The pace truck is down. Bergeron is in control. We are racing once more at the Knoxville Nationals. Contact. I think Bryce Bailey had a little bit of a bubble. Oh, we've got a car up on its roof. We still managed to say green flag, though.
I think a little bit of a glitch right there. As the green was coming out, that crash happened, and the quick tow is going to hopefully get that car out of the way. I believe that was Dowd on his side, but now Lacey and Wenzel going to be fighting for this transfer spot. Bryce Bailey was a strong contender, I think, in this heat, and now with possible damage, that opens up a transfer spot for some of these guys to fight for.
He got mugged, absolutely mobbed on the start, so be tough for him. Top 3 not really switching around, as there goes a little bit of a move from Lacey trying to just defend from Wenzel. I'm watching, though, if Tripp is going to make anything happen. You don't want to get too racy for 2nd and 3rd position. It's just grid position ultimately in our feature event. I'm more concerned about the cars right behind you. Tripp is only about 2 or 3 tenths away, a couple of car lengths at this point in time, as Wenzel almost gets the move done because Lacey makes a bit of a bobble, bit of a mistake. Almost halfway through this feature, Bergeron is not being allowed to run away.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Bergeron's not being around or to run away, but the problem right now with Lacey, he's coming in very, very low, and I think he's just not getting out of the throttle right now. He's trying to hold as much momentum in. Here comes a big slide job from Wenzel. Can he get the move done? Oh my gosh, they're fighting unbelievably hard.
And another slide job being thrown in retaliation by Lacey. This is the first time we've seen some aggressive moves being made for second and third position. Wenzel back up into second. Tripp being left in the dirt tracks right now. He's about 4 car lengths adrift as halfway through this feature, heat race I should say. Another slide job comes in from Lacey, but Wenzel sees it coming and gets the spot back. I think it's going to be close between these two. Bergeron has finally run away.
I think that's an important note for later, that Bergeron just, I think, needs the track and needs the tires of his setup to kind of come in a little bit. You can see he's wearing the top side. Those two almost got together again. I don't know how they haven't made contact, but here comes Tripp hoping to make a move. I think Lacey's really struggling here late, Arjuna.
I think there's only 2 laps to go. I think Tripp might have an opportunity here if he can run that high line. You can see him ripping into that cushion. You've seen in the real world cars maybe digging into that cushion. I don't think we're going to necessarily see that this early in the night. Just a mile or so to go now. Bergeron a full second clear. Wenzel, Lacey comfortably second and third. I think it's a little bit too far back for Keaton Tripp at this point in time. And indeed, Tripp will be heading to our consolation races. Bergeron takes heat number 3. Corey Wenzel in second. Chris Lacey will come across the line in third. One of the most entertaining heats we've seen on the night, and we've still got 3 of them left to go here, Jonathan.
Hats off, I think, to the fact that number 16 was able to hang on for Chris Lacey. He was pushing it in those corners and thankfully gets that transfer spot.
Here you can see the drivers. It's now a Canadian represented. So like I said, an international flair well and truly being carried on over into that 35-lap feature. It's an all-Australian front row here. Heat number 4, Braden Shute and Dylan DeBono first and second. Lee Kratz and Nathan Davis third and fourth. Dominic Dobesh and Matthew Goins 5th and 6th positions, with 7th going to Chad Burt. He'll be alongside Caleb McCurry. Daniel Northcutt and Darren Hall will round out our 10-car grid here. Do apologize if I'm butchering any of these names because, well, while we did know who the top 60 in points were coming into this race, it's always a little bit of an unknown as to who's actually going to make their way into the super session, who's actually going to be competitive on the grid here as well. And I always want to try and make sure I get some of these names right. You could see, by the way, in the background of the shot that we just had there, Tim Ryan's car was represented as part of our background assets. Tim Ryan, the most recent winner at the Knoxville Raceway and World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car World Championship competition in our 2020-2021 season. Disappointed, I think, slightly not to see the Australian competing, but I'm sure he is very busy supporting the rest of his Altus team. Half the heat's done, half still to go, Jonathan, and well, the track is just getting increasingly worn, and clearly we're getting racier and racier.
I think that's a good part, though. As it gets worn, it gets racier and racier, and it's going to be important to note how your car kind of handles now. You know, if you do make it to that A main or even the B main that has a little bit more laps than just 10, how your car is going to handle once this track really breaks in.
So, as a reminder, 3 transfer spots in each of these heats. Caution laps do not count if we get them. We've been fortunate, Jonathan, to only have 1 so far. That was a rather big incident, if we're being honest, about 7 cars being collected.
And just a misjudgment, and that can happen like at any point in any of these heats, even if it's just 10 cars on this track, or even if it's when we get to the A main and there's 22. Just a brief misjudgment can cause calamity like that.
And so here we go. The pace truck is about to pull down onto the relative safety of pit lane, and Braden Shute picks up the throttle. We are racing in heat number 4 here at the Knoxville Raceway. Look at the battle for second, third, and fourth. It's down the inside. It's Lee Kratz throwing a slide job. He's up into the path of Nathan Davis. Just about holds on there with a bit of a bobble. That battle for the transfer spot is already heating up.
Yeah, DeBono needs to be careful here. He's one of the only guys that really out-pipped guys in the top split for pole position. Big crash!
And DeBono throws a, I don't know if you can call that a slide job, to be completely honest. Was that DeBono? Sorry, no, I might have got that one wrong.
I think that was Kratz.
Oh, the numbers had me all sorts of confused because I saw the 19 on another car and DeBono's number in the sim is 19. DeBono running the 0-3. I think you are right. It was Kratz that I think tried the aggressive move and just trying to sling it down the inside. And here we'll take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay. Indeed, it was Lee Kratz. Oh, he gets onto the berm a little bit on the inside. And, well, 4 cars involved, potentially some serious damage. Second caution on the night.
And again, that's just a misjudgment. I don't think he was expecting Davis to stay that low this early on that line. I think he was expecting him to go all the way out to the outside wall. But again, as I mentioned, that back straightaway is thinner than the front straightaway. So that exit coming out of turn 2 kind of thins out, and it's already caught one group of cars out today.
Hopefully we'll see get a bit cleaner when we get to the feature because, of course, more cars sometimes means more chaos. Not necessarily what we want to see. What a wonderful facility this is. Built back in 1878. First for horse racing before, at the turn of the century, 1901, the first motor race took place with just 2 cars. What a venue it has become now with, of course, the Knoxville Nationals bringing in over 100 competitors regularly. And I think it was 1991, 166 cars were entered for the Knoxville Nationals. So really great to see just how far this facility has come and how ingrained in dirt racing heritage it really is. The sprint car capital of the world, and really so privileged that here on RaceSpotTV we get to cover not just the regular special events. You know, we get our Daytonas, we get our Bathurst races, Petit Le Mans. I know Tyler Maxton, our producer, is going to say one of his favorite events. But here, get this dirt race. We'll get Chili Bowl later on. We'll also get Crandon taking the pro trucks out for a bit of jumping action. But here we go, back to the action in Knoxville. It's Braden Shute with a rocket of a jump. Dylan DeBono sits in second with Chad Burt, the final of the transfer spots. Can Caleb McCurry try and steal that away from him?
He's in position to do just that. Looks like that 18 is just not handling where I think he wants it. And McCurry can really use his time to pounce. One of the lower guys in this field, only 2,600 I rating. That's still a respectful amount, but the 3 guys that all just got taken out have 3,500 plus. So this is a big opportunity, I think.
3 cars retired as well, at least from this heat. Lee Kratz, Nathan Davis, and Dominic Dobesh. So really, I think an opportunity for even some of the other drivers to try and work their way up. It's still DeBono and Burt sitting pretty in second and third. Shute has once again managed to pull away about half a second, a couple of car lengths at this point in time, and I think McCurry is just a little bit too far behind. He's going to have to try and find just a little bit more pace. He's searching across the track and trying to just find some speed. That's Daniel Northcutt trying to make a move happen on Matthew Goins. Nothing doing for now, halfway through heat number 4.
Yeah, the 2, I think the numbers are ranked by iRating, so the 2 lowest ranked people in this heat, and they're trying to show up right now. They got one of the 2,000 plus iRating behind them.
Burt gets up into the wall. Caleb McCurry, that's an opportunity. He gets close. It's not close enough. Coming down the main straightaway, still not close enough, but it's McCurry that runs up to the outside line. It's Burt that just slides himself up the track, holds on to 3rd position, but the door was open. The door is still open.
He's doing that same line that we talked about in that heat just a minute ago. He's coming in very low, and I think he's sustaining the throttle a bit too much, and he got up into the outside wall. This time a little bit better behaved, but he has to know that 39's lurking.
Shute should come across the line to take the white flag just momentarily, so not far to go. Not much time for McCurry to try and get the move done. Here it goes. The white flag is indeed in the air. Shute and DeBono, they look comfortable. Burt and McCurry, those are the 2 cars still scrapping over that final transfer to the feature. McCurry trying to look for some grip, but I think it's too little, too late. It will be Chad Burt that takes that final transfer spot. Heat number 4, delivering some intense action after our 2nd caution on the day. The night is starting to set here as well. You can see it's getting darker and darker. Track is not reset just yet, but nevertheless, it is more Australians working their way into our feature. Shute DeBono, along with the Florida native Chad Burt. The rest of the drivers working their way into the alphabet soup. Here we go, though. Heat number 5 already locked and loaded. Kenny Hoffman, Jared Liebert, Paul Bryan, and Kevin Fry, those are your top 4 starters. Sean Brown and Colby Araki will line up in 5th and 6th positions with Caden Schneider and John Naub 7th and 8th. James Hensler and Joshua Coden will round out our 10-car field as we get ready once more. The track is starting to slick up here, Jonathan, and because there's no track reset between this and the Consolation races, I think drivers will be watching on very keenly as to how the track is evolving.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we made the point of the numbers that they're ranked in the session that you'll see on the timing screen is the numbers that they're like ranked compared to iRating, and this is a very close field here. Not a lot of information on a lot of these guys either. I know Kenny Hoffman has been pretty good so far in the qualifying days, but everyone else has been very quiet. Joshua Naughton is probably the only one I've done a bit of research on, and he has to be disappointed with a 10th place starting spot.
You've done a bit more research than me, to be completely honest, on some of these guys, so it's very nice to have the insight from someone else when it comes to these drivers here today.
Look, I've been off the air for a little bit. I gotta make up time, man.
That's true, that's true. Great to have you back here on RaceSpotTV, and great to have all of those people that are watching on in our YouTube chat as well, tuning in for the sprint car capital of the world, hosting the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Hoffman, Liebert, the front row of the grid. Plenty of experience when it comes to dirt racing there. Wonder what you think, Jonathan, about the lines that are being taken here, though.
I don't like that shallow entry line. I just feel like there's going to be a mistake easily made on corner exit, just getting up into the wall, and we're green flag, Arjuna.
Here we go. It's a great jump from Hoffman. Liebert gets a pretty decent run, but to the inside, he challenges for the race lead. Side by side for 3rd and 4th position. That final transfer spot is on the line as Paul Bryan and Kevin Fry make a little bit of contact. Bryan will hold on. It's Fry that ends up at the tail end of the field as we get the yellow flag for the 3rd time tonight. It was close. It was a great jump, I think, from basically the entire field. The most synced up that we've been on these initial race starts, and we'll have to go and take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay machine and see what happened here. You can see it was just up the track very slightly and into the wall. Sean Brown nowhere to go as he gets collected along with, I think that's Colby Araki. So 3 cars involved. I think we're only looking, though, at 1 retirement from that incident.
Yeah, I said this was a field that had very close iRating, not much disparity between this one and previous heats. So I think a lot of people kind of knew that looking at this, like, okay, this is my chance. I gotta make up spots. And you're right, only 1 retirement so far. Don't know how damaged some of these other cars are going to be, though. That's going to be the big concern.
Hoffman got a great jump, like insane. I mean, everyone else was basically just about tied up, and then Liebert able to hold on to 2nd. He was trying to challenge. Now wonder if we'll see a bit of switch up at the tail end of the field, as I think Kevin Fry and Colby Araki are still out there on the track. You did mention it's a pretty even grid in terms of the iRatings and the iRating strength, I should say, because iRating doesn't always tell the full picture. Highest I-rated driver in the field is Jared Liebert. Lowest rated driver would be Caden Schneider, who's sitting in 5th, and a potential chance of working his way and sneaking his way into the feature directly from the heat. The other thing to note is it's a rather long time for some of these drivers just sit around and wait, because if you qualified straight in from heat number 1, like we saw, for example, Braden Eiler doing, you're basically just waiting around. The rest of the heats have to finish. Then we go to the alphabet soup and wait for them to come to an end as well. Might not have been in the car for a considerable amount of time, but of course you can follow along with the action here on RaceSpotTV. Pace truck is down. We are green. Lap number 1 finally comes to an end. It was a pretty early caution. Hopefully we'll get a bit further this time around.
Hoffman made a brilliant jump to get away, and they're going to be too wide maybe for 2nd place. Paul Bryan's going to make a look, and like Bear also making a look down the inside. He wants to try and take that spot away from Hoffman. Like I said, only thing I know, he's had a really good week in the qualifying races, a 4th and a 6th overall, and that's with guys in that big top split. So he's a bit of a dark horse, I think.
top three have really jumped away. You can see the gap is almost a full second as side by side Liebert and Bryan are scrapping it out. The cushion has really migrated almost all the way up to the wall and really not seeing the low line being preferred. But to the inside, here comes Paul Bryan. Can he throw the slide job? Can he get second position away from Jarrett Liebert? They're still side by side as they exit the quarter. 4 laps in the books here from the Knoxville Raceway. Slide job being thrown in retaliation by Liebert. But here we go, still side by side. It's slide jobs galore.
And you may be thinking, like, why are these guys fighting so hard? I mean, there's 6 heats in the A main. That is 6 places disparity between Paul Bryan and Liebert right now. And that's the difference between starting in the midfield and starting at the tail end with the guys that advance from the B main.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about, you know, the best you can start in that main feature is 5th if you finish up front here, and then you know, work your way down 10th, 15th, and then you know, really do get yourself into the danger zone, as it were. So there is very much an incentive to finishing as high up the order as you can. Coden and Snyder still side by side as the caution is out once more. I think Snyder and Fry have come together the first time we've had 2 of these cautions in the same heat. So a little bit disappointed to see that, but I think just an indication of how hectic and how chaotic things are going to be when we get to 35 laps and plenty of competitors raring to go. So take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay and unfold what happened here. Oh, it is Snyder, and that is Kevin Fry. And was that Kevin Fry actually the one that went end over end? First time we're seeing a lot of these names, but that is a sickening incident.
A little bit like a bump and run that was failed upon, failed and frowned upon. You can't really do that. We saw that in the truck race here. You can do that. These aren't trucks, boys.
I think the less said about that trucks race, the better, if we're being honest, though, Jonathan.
Talking about last night's truck race or the truck race that happened here? Because both were equally crazy.
Both were equally horrifying at times as well. What I will say, Jonathan, is I know you're a Pennsylvania native. Have you had the opportunity to go and watch some of the great dirt track racing that you have around the great state of Pennsylvania?
I have not. I've been busy all summer, and me and Dylan Coyle have been trying to plan out places to go. It's just a little bit far from the city of Philadelphia, the city of Brotherly Love. When you're out towards the East Coast, you just don't get this type of racing. And where I grew up, we had dirt tracks galore. We're talking about Angel Park, Beaver Dam, Wilmot. These are tracks that probably some of you are like, what is he talking about? Just local tracks in Wisconsin. And I think that's the glory about dirt track racing, is that you get a lot of people like from these local tracks and just from local areas that get to move up and get to be part of the big thing. And that's the really glory about the sim racing. You get guys that you may have never heard of racing alongside you with very good experience and similar experience to what you have.
Oh, absolutely. And the great thing as well is that you have, for the first time, World Championship Series that don't have repeat tracks. Here we go. The second caution of the heat comes to an end. Who's going to get the jump? Because there's only going to be 3 laps to go before we determine heat number 5 and our transfers to the feature. It's once more a great launch from Kenny Hoffman. Paul Bryan, Jarrett Liebert still squabbling for 2nd and 3rd position. And once again, they've managed to leave the rest of their cars in their wake. Still only 3 cars, I think, fighting for the feature spots.
I think you're misjudging how far that what is that? Is that the 16 of
I think
Sean Brown has come trying to challenge, or has he fallen off a little bit there?
I think that's just some lap traffic that's in the mix as well. So it becomes a bit confusing, but timing and scoring tends to not lie. And I think it is still Bryant versus Liebert, 2nd and 3rd, with almost a full 1.5 seconds at this point to Sean Brown in that number 16 machine. Checkered flag flies in heat number 5. The most cautions we've had so far, it will be Hoffman, Bryant, and Liebert that will transfer on through. And the rest of the cars then working their way into those consolation races. Here we go. Here are those race results. Pennsylvania, Australia, and the Northwest represented. And already Heat 6 is locked and loaded. I've seen Alex Attard being a bit active in the in-session chat, so I think he is ready to go. He's been waiting for about 30 minutes or so at this point in time. Aiden Berlin will be alongside on the front row. Jesse Dorcas and Justin Starnes 3rd and 4th position, with Coulter West and David Kalb 5th and 6th positions. Cody Gates, I wonder if there's a relation to the previous Gates we saw in today's action. Paul Balfour, they'll share row number 4 with Bailey Leeson and Matthew Stables completing our 10-car field. It's the great thing about dirt racing here, Jonathan. The heats really fly on past. I must say, some of the most fun I've had commentating on iRacing, whether it be special events or any sort of World Championship Series, has been the World of Outlaws stuff. I was very fortunate to call some of the sprint car stuff alongside Justin Prince for 2020-2021. Really enjoying seeing these guys in action here tonight.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful racing to watch, and I can't wait to get this A-main where we get some of these guys grouped up together that have been dominating their heats and that are stuck in that midfield. It's just beautiful. And the back and forth action too to look forward to as the track deteriorates, especially in that A-main when you get lap traffic going. Like this is the reason this track is great for sprint cars. The track can change so quickly. Lap traffic can become so much of a problem, and you really have to understand how to move your car around the line and how to keep yourself out of trouble.
The great thing is as well, it's not as difficult to reset the track condition, as it were. Just click a button rather than get the trucks out there and do what needs to be done. So here we go. The final heat of the night is Alex Attard. It is Aiden Berlin sharing the front row. Jesse Dorcas and Justin Starnes, third and fourth. 3 transfer spots. The rest of the cars, no. They'll have to head to the Consolations, where one car, just one, will make its way into our feature. We are racing then for the final heat of the evening. It's a rocket of a start for Attard. Berlin looks to the inside, but I don't think he's close enough. The battle is on for third and fourth position. Dorcas and Starnes working their way almost up into the wall.
Yeah, we have 5 guys that are relatively lower ranked compared to what we've seen in our field in terms of iRating, and they know they can get a good transfer spot or even get up into the B main just by having a good run. That yellow car right there up into the wall. I believe that's Dorcas that's in the transfer spot right now. This 58 may be coming for him.
It's an attempted slide job from Starnes, but I don't think that's the way you want to get it done. You need a bit more momentum. You need to carry that momentum into the middle and the exit of the corner as well. These 2 cars starting to be dropped by the guys in front. Berlin now is putting the pressure on Attard, but I think a little bit too far back. Once more Starnes just trying something different, but up into the cushion. Right behind him, Coulter West and David Kalber squabbling over 5th and 6th positions, but ultimately that's just grid positions and indeed starting position for the heats and puts you into, I should say, the Consolation, and puts you into the appropriate race in our alphabet soup. Dorcas is looking comfortable now, though. Has started to break away several car lengths from the 58 behind us. Here we go. There's some more moves right behind.
Now, I am rooting for this 58, though. One of the, again, a lower ranked driver in this field, showing that he's not too bad. Like, you're only like 6 seconds off a guy who's won a series at the 305 and the 360 level. Like, that's a good showing, I think.
Getting word as well, it's not one driver that will advance from that B main. Seems like the iRacing system is lying to me, because it's just saying the 1 will advance. 6 will advance, so should make it an even 24 cars in our 35 lap feature. There you go, battle for the race lead. Here comes Berlin. He knows this is grid position. Who starts in 6th? Who starts in 12th? It's going to be neck and neck all the way to the checkered flag.
Yeah, don't get too racy, you two. You still got Dorcas behind you, and if any 3 of you guys screw up, that 58 is waiting in the wings to possibly take a spot.
And correction, I went and checked on the iRacing website. It's 4 that will advance, so it's an even 22. So there's pressure then on some of these cars, knowing there's not much for them to be able to try and fight their way back all the way to the outside. There you go. Here comes Attard back down to the inside. White flag in the air this time around. Here comes Dorcas as well. He's closing the gap on these 2 cars.
Well, that's what happens when you two go squabbling back and forth. You know, Berlin has a 4-time hosted series champion for the United Sim Racing. He can try and make a move here.
Slide job being thrown. Attard has control, but as they come to the checkered flag, it will be Berlin that will start then in 6th position. Our pole sitter Attard, at least in heat number 6, now has to settle for 12th in our main event. So the heats are done. It is time for the alphabet soup. Virginia, Australia, and Canada represented in our feature. The rest of the drivers know they have a lot of work to do if they want any chance of competing with the best of the best. Here we go then, the first of the alphabet soups ready to get underway. This is the E-main. It will be Balin Leeson, Justin Givens on the front row with Kenneth Dock and Nathan Dowd, 3rd and 4th. Dominic Dubesh and Colby Araki in 5th and 6th positions. We have 13 cars ready to go here, so it's a big field. Hopefully we won't get too many of those caution interventions. Paul Balfour and Harry Graham will be in 7th and 8th, with Dean Garrett and Jeremy Boucher 9th and 10th positions. Nathan Davis and John Knaub 11th and 12th, with Cody Gates being the only driver on his own row of the grid. He'll line up at the tail end of our 13-car field. Great to see that our graphics were working there. Always get scared when you have one driver on a page by himself, as Tyler Macklin will know. Sometimes it does not show correctly. It is getting really, really dark here as well, Jonathan. The track continues to evolve. Again, no resets until we get to first the warm-up right before the main event, and we'll get a second reset just before we go racing for 35 laps in our feature event.
And each of these mains, as we should point out, do get longer. This one is still 10 laps like the heats. However, the D main will be 12, C main will be 14, and B main will be 16. Top 4 will advance to the following next alphabet. So right now, the 4 you see on your screen, Leeson, Givens, Dick, and Dowd, are right here in this group. They would advance if they're holding their positions. But, Arjuna, there's a lot of guys in this field that wrecked out of their heat that probably want a little bit of redemption here.
It's a long way to get that redemption, though, and just a word that Jeremy Boucher is not going to start. He is DNS, so 12 cars ready to go. Is that contact already on the front row? That's Bailey Leeson and Justin Givens. It's a bit of elbow contact there as we wait for the pace truck to come down onto pit road and give us the green flag and control of the action to Bailey Leeson's. Saw some bumper cars in our heat races. Let's hope that we can get through the next 10 laps without any sort of commotion. These drivers right off the bat are showing us just how much this means. Leeson picks up the throttle. We are racing. Givens makes contact with Dick Jr. already into the wall. There's a car going end over end, and we immediately go to a yellow flag.
Yeah, I think Dick Jr. got the better jump, but I think the shenanigans that the 46 and the 12 are playing in the start did not play in the 12's favor.
Shenanigans, I think, is putting it rather nicely, to be completely honest.
Friendly, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit friendly. We have to get the RaceSpotTV replay up on the screen. I think Dean Garrett didn't really have much that he could do to avoid the carnage in front of him, and he was mixed up in the action as well. No, never mind. He was involved in a separate incident. Fortunately, not one of the cars that went end over end. So, well, we'll reset things at least for now and see what is what. Here's the replay. It was Givens, like I said, that was really making that contact, and well, not much he could do once the contact was started by that car next to him, and really once he was in the wall, end over end, he went.
I think he was trying to come down to cover off that blue 47 at Deke Jr. and just was not clear, and I think Deke Jr. didn't realize that he was still going to come down and run into him, and I think that's a shame on both drivers, really, and especially after Givens start shenanigans here with the 46 you see on your screen. It's a frustrating way to end your day.
I guess sometimes that's just dirt racing. Rubbing is racing, isn't it, Jonathan?
Sometimes rubbing is racing. You know, at least in the virtual world, we don't have issues of fistfights going on in the pit lanes afterwards. So you know what? We have that benefit for us.
And never say never. I mean, there might not be physical altercations, but the good old trolling that we sometimes see from the dirt community, I'm sure, might be out in action after this one.
Maybe just a little bit, maybe just a flare, or they could fist fight in real life. We could organize it if need be. If they want to throw down at Knoxville, we can try and find a way.
The RaceSpot Fighting Championship, as we've called it in the iRacing IndyCar community. Our producer Tyler Maxon as saying he's been complaining and wanting a virtual fist fight over the past couple of seasons as he's been covering the World of Outlaws. We are back to the action then as lap number 2 gets underway. The top 4 will advance in this E-main, and still plenty of time for these drivers to work. Ignore that. The green line adjusts itself on the screen right now. Already some moves and some bumping for first and second positions. Cautions back out, and I think this time, who's involved?
Looks like Nathan Davis is the one dropping.
It was indeed. We'll have to go and see if there was more contact, and I believe there would have been because he finds himself up on his roof. And there was 2 bits of contact, in fact. There you'll see the first, and right behind him some more contact that really just runs into the path of the number 20 car. He manages to land on his 4 wheels. A pretty impressive landing there. Nailed the landing. Maybe the actual move itself wasn't perfectly executed.
No, like you said, two bits of separate contact that ran into each other, and it's sometimes the way it goes in dirt racing. You know, unfortunately in sprint cars you really can't get bumper to bumper, but sometimes when you get the street stocks out here, Yeah, you can see a lot of contacts.
I must say, some of the most fun I've had here on the iRacing service was working my way through dirt rookies and the dirt street stocks, because it allows you to understand dirt racing that little bit more, right, Jonathan? I do not come from a dirt background. We should make that clear. I'm very much a road racer at heart, but it's the great thing about iRacing. I've gotten to love IndyCar a lot more. I've gotten to try dirt racing, both, rally cross and trying to compete there. Now teammates with some former World Championship competitors there. Also trying to get some iRating here on the dirt oval side of things. You were saying that 2,500 is not that high. I think I'm above 2,000 on everything except dirt oval. I just still cannot manage to figure it out.
I need to figure out how to make my computer survive dirt oval a little bit, but yeah, like, that's the great thing about iRacing. You can learn and then become friends and get to know some of these former world caliber racers that can give you advice, can give you tips, and I think that's the glory of this, and that's really the glory of this experience for a lot of these guys that are here. Just a great learning experience. You can learn and watch some of the best do it.
Don't know how much you can learn from watching Bergeron. I mean, he's just a machine. There's only so much you can learn. You might need some of those personal pointers.
I can learn that he might be God.
Yes, no, exactly. I can learn that he is very, very good. Stack up, though, as the pace truck is down. Contact between Dake Jr. and Leeson as we get back to the action. 3 wide, coming across the start-finish line. This was a crazy restart. Let's hope that we get a little bit further without the caution coming out this time around.
I think we said Givens was playing a little bit of shenanigans on the start. I think we want to maybe pin that more on Leeson. He's trying to really hold that top spot. And he's got a couple of angry, frustrated drivers who may have crashed out in their heats coming for him in a hurry.
The battle for the transfer spot is heating up, though. It's Arakai who's just in front as swap for the race lead. Dake Jr. gets on past Bailey Leeson, but all eyes focused on this main transfer battle because the rest of the drivers that finished 4th on down will go home, and that was contact. Graham is into the wall, and Graham is out of the race.
That was just an accidental contact. The back end just kicked out a little bit, and another thing on dirt racing, you just don't have time to react. These laps are so fast. These things have so much power. It's just impossible to react to every single battle. Was that Leeson in the wall?
Don't know if Leeson was... Oh, Leeson is really struggling at this point in time. He is now around being passed by Dominic Dobesh as it opens the door potentially for Colby Arakai as well. As you can see, Leeson being very aggressive on the entry to the corner. He's giving Dobesh really nowhere to go, has really allowed Dake Jr. to scamper away now several car lengths down the road. Leeson's back up to the cushion, though. Now defends from Arakai in that number 34 machine.
Yeah, Leeson was playing really aggressive, but Dobesh put a mean block on that 46 going down into turn 1. And these three got to be careful. You can race each other hard, boys, but one of you gets crushed.
Ooh.
That's an open transfer spot for that number 7 machine that's lurking.
Leeson was back up into the wall. He is struggling at this point in time. Not sure exactly how comfortable he's feeling. So allowed Arakai up into 3rd. Leeson is now down into that final transfer spot, but well and truly clear of the cars behind. So I don't think, unless something major happens as Balfour and Gates are squabbling side by side, I don't think Leeson is at too much of a worry about losing out and not advancing at this point. White flag in the air. Should be Dake Jr. across the line fairly comfortably to win this E-main. Following him up into that D-main will be Dobesh, Arakai, and Leeson. The rest of the drivers going home here in the iRacing Knoxville Nationals.
And a good finish out there for Deke Jr. I think a little bit of a redemption after getting collected early on. However, he's got a long road ahead. These top 4 are all due to get anywhere close to that A-main.
So day done for Balfour, Davis, Dobesh. Oh, did something happen to Dobesh that we missed there? Because Gates has managed to get up there into 4th position. Huh. Well, that is weird, and we'll have to try and figure out exactly what happened, but cars are already ready to go for this D-main. 12 laps will be on the clock for advance to the next stage of our alphabet soup. Bryce Bailey, Daniel Northcutt on the front row with Joshua Cotton and Matthew Stables 3rd and 4th. Melvin Purcelli in 5th alongside Carlin Cure, the Carolina native. Lots of alliteration there. With Nigel Adams in 7th spot. Lee Kratz completes row number 4 with Caden Schneider and Kenneth Dake Jr., the first of our advancees from our E-main. Colby Arakai, Bailey Leeson, and Dean Gertz will advance on, or rather start at the tail end of this grid. I was not sure exactly how many cars to be expecting at this race, but looks like we've got an uneven 13, and we'll have to wait and see how this one fares out. It was a bit more aggressive, a bit more naughty at times in that E-main, Jonathan. I'm not exactly sure what to expect then as we work our way into the D-main.
I'm wondering if there was some sort of penalty for one of the starts or something that car collected and got Dean Garrett up into this transfer spot. It's hard to tell, especially since these heats go by so fast.
They really do. That's the best part about dirt racing. Really is so much fun that the action never really stops. Some great paint schemes that I think we're seeing there. Oh, what's that on the front of Bryce Bailey's car?
I believe it looks like Bill Belichick of the Patriots, but I could be wrong.
I think you're
I need
wrong.
to zoom and enhance, please.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what we need right now. So, always fun to see the various paint schemes here on the iRacing service. So much flexibility as to what happens, and the word has come in from Dominic Dobesh that black flag on the initial start explains why he dropped down the order. Very unfortunate because we thought he would be advancing. So now we go racing in the D-main. 12 laps on the board. 4 cars to advance to the next part of this consolation section. That will be the C-main. 14 laps will be on the board there before the B-main. 16 laps for drivers advancing to the feature. We are ready to go racing. We are underway for the next stage of the Knoxville Nationals. A little bit sideways as we come across the start finish line. It's a bit cleaner than we saw last time around, but here we go. Slide Job City has begun.
Yeah, Northcutt, one of the lowest ranked drivers in this field, and he's going to try and hang on. He got an okay start, but everyone else has got a better start behind him. There's someone up in the outside wall. It looks like that might be Matthew Stables, but we stay green.
Oh, you just jinxed it there, Jonathan. We don't stay green. I think it was Lee Kratz as well. Oh, yeah, and that's not what you want to see when the caution is out. Further contact, that's between Daniel and Northcutt, and I think Carl and Kira potentially, but I think it was Lee Kratz was the car that brought out this initial caution, and as Jacob Klein has pointed out, what to expect for the D-main? Well, D is for desperation.
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit of desperation there, too. Like Northcutt, again, one of the lowest ranked drivers in this field, trying to really show like he belongs in this group. Just not an okay start. And that was Stables. I guess we just missed that on the start, just all by himself.
I think
the outside wall.
Yeah, he kind of got hooked into the wall there as well. A bit of a weird one. So not sure what happened there, but we slow things down, and 2 laps in the books, plenty of time still to go. Oh, okay. It's all a big incident that got involved. So Lee Kratz then subsequently ends up attached. I think that's the best way you could put it, and rim rides around the outside wall, and well, there we go. Caution inevitable, I think, at that point in time. If D is for desperation, C is for chaos, what is B standing for here? Because that's the only one that I'm struggling for.
Better than C?
I don't like that.
I tried.
You tried, but we need some more effort, I think, Jonathan. B is for... now it's going to bug me. Maybe our YouTube chat's going to be able to help us in with that one, as I am very excited about what to expect here.
Big slide job?
Big slide job. Still missing something. Still missing something.
I'm a commentator, not a grammar expert, unfortunately. As is being made clear right now.
Well, I would have hoped that you had decent grammar, at least better than me. Hopefully your grammar is better than my math, because we found out recently on RaceSpotTV that I just have awful math skills, especially when I'm having to talk as well. You
should have seen me calculating IRA fuel strategies last
that's
season
right.
I had a whole sheet, man.
No,
I didn't show you guys, but I had a whole sheet.
I guess your math is the one that maybe we should trust a little bit more. But here we go, back to the action as the pace truck is down. Very early jump. They've stacked up behind. Daniel Northcutt has been spun around. Somehow will stay under green flag conditions here in the D-main.
I think he came down to try and cover Cure and just got hooked, and there is the yellow.
I've just noticed that I have a Logitech mouse. It blinks yellow when the yellow flag waves, so that was rather useful. Ooh, B is for bizarre. I like that one. B for bizarre. That's what we're expecting. We didn't even get a full lap here coming back to the green flag action, and we'll go ahead and dial up our RaceSpotTV replay machine and take a look at the incident for Daniel Northcutt, who now finds himself at one point in a transfer spot to the next stage, now finds himself at the tail end of the field. And here we go. You can see it was a bit sideways. I think that was the initial problem. Very sideways. I think Colin Cure was just a little bit too close as well to try and avoid and check up in time. And, well, chain reaction. Daniel Northcott, the biggest loser in that equation.
Yeah, he's still running, but I don't know how much damage that car has. I don't know how much damage some of those other guys picked up in that incident, too, especially Cure, who was by far going to be the worst one to come out of it because he was looking to really secure that 3rd or 4th transfer spot and now is got a bit of damage, now in 7th.
And again, 4 cars will advance. So currently it is Bryce Bailey, Joshua Codden, Melvin Purcelli, and Nigel Adams sitting pretty. Colby Arakai is in 5th, right on that bubble. We'll have to wait and see just how aggressive he wants to get. It's a busy weekend of real-world motorsports. Of course, the NASCAR Cup Series and their support series are at the Michigan International Raceway. You have the biggest endurance event of the year, the 24 Hours of Le Mans underway. IndyCar currently racing around the Worldwide Technology Raceway. I'm trying not to get too distracted by green flag pit stops there, but really it was a very fun time for me watching my first Knoxville Nationals just a week ago and watching Carl Lawson take the victory because ultimately, specialist drivers, that's kind of the way that modern motorsports works, Jonathan, but really it's great to see that you can have a driver with such a multifaceted, I should say, skill set able to win as we are back to the green flag action.
And that skill set also shows here, you know, you have guys that are really good actually on road and oval. When I was doing research, I was like, huh, these guys' ratings are a lot higher on these other disciplines than I was expecting. But, and again, here we go back under green. Bailey, again, one of the highest ranked drivers in this field, hoping, I think, to try and work his way up and, you know, kiss this pack goodbye.
I think Nigel Adams got swarmed on the restart. That's a big one. Oh, Colby Arakai was involved, and I think the other car was Melvin Purcelli. Once more, the caution flies. The question I now have is, do these cars have enough fuel to get to the end? Because you only get yourself ready to go for 12 laps. Caution laps do not count. So, do have to wonder just how close to the limit the various contenders are. And it was indeed Purcelli getting together with Arakai. Here we go. There's the replay. Purcelli was already a bit sideways and don't think Arakai could have done too much. And there was then further contact between, I think that was Dake Jr. and one of the other sprint cars here.
You saw Purcelli go flying in like the Buffalo Wild Wings car. I guess the wings will be adequately tossed tonight. At least everything is covered. But now with a more damaged race cars, it's going to make, I think, people a little bit more antsy to try and secure that transfer spot, but maybe there's a word of calm trying to be assessed on the field.
Some of these drivers as well that are waiting to go racing in the feature are also just complaining at this point in time, saying, well, this is the race that never ends. I want to go racing for my portion of this, the 35-lap main event that we'll have coming up shortly here on RaceSpotTV. Special event coverage continues over the next couple of weeks.
This is if you're in the A main, you're breaking out all your notes, you're getting, you know, like a hot dog or something, sitting down, just enjoying the show, you know?
Enjoying or being worried. I think there's two different possibilities here.
Well, you know some of these guys are going home, so it's okay. I think that's the consolation right now.
That's true. It is, I'm sure, somewhat of a relief as we wait for the pace truck to be down. 13 cars down to just 10. It's Stables, Kratz, and Layson who are all already confirmed to be going home. As we have about 7 laps still to go. Pace truck is down. Once more, Bailey picks up the throttle. It's a good jump from him. Watching this almost 3 wide across the start-finish line for that final transfer position. Caden Schneider, Colin Cure side by side.
Look at Deke Jr. to the inside, 3 wide. That's how you get from the E main to the D main to the C.
Carries the momentum, still a nose in front, but move coming from Colin Cure. Dake all the way up to that cushion on the outside line, and a bit of a bobble from Cure on the inside has meant that Dake is comfortable. Here we go. We're getting those green flag laps that we wanted under our belt. Some moves further back, but the top 4 looking very stable.
We just don't know how much damage is on this 7 machine right here of Cure to really do anything. It's a shame because he's a good driver too and one of the highest ranked here. But what looks like it could be a holdup on this bottom lane down here. It could be an opportunity still for Cure.
Dake Jr. around the outside. He's already taken Colby Arakai. Now watch if Cure can follow suit. Oh, Dake's up into the wall. Dake's lost that transfer position. It's given Cure that transfer spot. Dake still has a couple of laps to fight on back.
Yeah, that's a lot of time he lost, and how desperate are these guys going to be just for seeding in the next race if they know they're secure?
Still side by side. Arakai this time with Cotton. It will be 2 to go at the line next time around, so just a mile left for some of these drivers. Cure looking comfortable. They've cleared off from Dake Jr. About a full second separates the top 4 from the chasing pack behind. Bailey has run away. Bailey is just looking so... He's been so calm, so collected, even with the stop-start nature of this heat. It will be Bailey in first. It's Arakai still squabbling for second position with Joshua Cotton. Excuse me, no, it's the battle for... Oh, this is second, third, and fourth. All just separated by almost nothing side by side. Cure almost now gets second spot as he bobbles off the corner. White flag in the air. Bailey advances as your race winner. Cure Arakai, a drag race to the line that Carlin Cure will win. Arakai third, and Cotton the final of the transfers.
Did you see Dake Jr. come back from about a second and a half to only come a 10th short of transferring? Cotton got loose on the inside, and oh, that's a shame for the 13.
Arakai +8 after being in that E main has worked himself now into the C main. So fifth on down will transfer home or go on home. Bailey, Cure, and the rest of those cars ready to go for now 14 laps of action. Kevin Fry, David Kalb first and second, with Brandon Surratt and Miles Jansen on row number 2. Bryce Menon and Darren Howell share row number 3, with James Hensler and Coulter West right behind them. Josh Hofer and Joe Braunhorst 9th and 10th positions, with Bryce Bailey, Carlin Cure, Colby Arakai, and Joshua Cotton. Those 4 cars that have just advanced. They're having to keep busy. There is still a long way to go for them to advance into our feature event. 4 cars advance from this into our B main, where 4 cars will get their opportunity for 35 laps here in Knoxville.
I think for those 4 starting at the back, this is probably, I think, the scariest main. You mentioned chaos. This might be chaos because there's going to be a lot of guys here that are very decently ranked in the dirt community, very good drivers, and there's going to be some guys that you can see like the 54 and the 59 that, you know, are just here kind of to learn and trying to really see what they can give and see what they got.
And the track is almost the most worn that we're going to see over the course of the evening.
Yeah, look at that dark patch right there.
Yeah, no, I'm loving the way that the iRacing dynamic track system is evolving over the course of the evening, and really is fun to see the way that different drivers make the high line work, and some drivers still very much insistent on running the lower line and seeing what they can do there. Hopefully, Jonathan, this is a bit less chaotic than we had last time around, because C stands for chaos. We're hoping C doesn't stand also for carnage.
I don't know, Naughton worked from the rear of his main to get into the transfer spot. Same with Akari. Cure and Bailey have been fast, and they're at the back of this field. And the guys just ahead of him, I just didn't know enough research, unfortunately, for some of them to really know. And I don't know what they're going to all show.
Here we go, waiting for the iRacing pace truck and Benny, the pace car driver, to make his way down onto pit lane. He'll be thrilled as to how busy he's being kept here today. One of the funnest follows on social media. Pace truck is down. We are ready to go racing. 14 laps on the board. It's a wonderful launch from Kevin Fry. Already single file out front, but of course, watch for 4th on back. Already side by side, almost. Bryce Menon trying to get on past Miles Jensen, but single file at the front. It is very much chaotic at the back as there's a car going end over end. That, I believe, is Darren Hall. Somehow we stay on the green, though.
Watch the 7, the red and white of Carlin Cure, I think just picked up 8 spots in that one lap. There he is on the outside. He's coming in a hurry.
He's one of those drivers that I think we need to watch for. He splits the difference. He goes down the middle. That's the red car with the white wing, looking to try and get into the transfer spots. Almost contact there as Cure rips through a number of cars. He's almost up into that transfer spot. Oh, never mind, excuse me, they're almost 4 wide off the corner, but all of this wonderful fighting has enabled those top 4 cars to really break away. Would not be surprised, though, Jonathan, if Carlin Cure gets those afterburners set to max and he closes on Miles Jensen.
I think John Barnhost, who also one of the higher ranked drivers in this field, probably a little frustrated that he's back here in the C main. He may try and follow that 7 around the outside. Look at how much grip he has up there. He's passed 2 cars in that one corner. He's going to go all the way to second.
Clearly, that's where setups comes in. He's comfortable. He's made the adjustments over the course of the evening. Now up on that comfortable high line, now into second position, getting past David Kalb, who's now being challenged by Joe Bornhorst. You said Bornhorst was another big mover. He's 7 on the day. Carlin Cure put him to the race lead. 11 positions gained in just 5 laps.
Yeah, Fry's going to want to watch out here. He's going to charging 17 to his outside. That's going to be angry. And now some of these other guys, Bryce Bailey's making up moves. He's 2 and 3 wide, going through 3 and 4.
Almost halfway through the action there. You can see on the left side of the screen the movers and shakers. Who's that flipping over? I think that was David Kalb. We're still under green flag. Somehow we have been very, very fortunate here in the C main. Halfway through, a couple of cars have gone end over end. Darren Hall has already retired. David Kalb now down 10 spots from where he started.
There's 4 cars under a blanket right here. The 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. That was a door shut there by Kevin Fry. I don't think West is going to appreciate that. May go down to the inside right here. Good move. Looks like this outside line is where you want to be right now, but that inside slide job, it's just so good.
Surratt and Bailey just behind. Of course, we saw Bailey very comfortable, very calm in that last heat. Last D main. He's now up into 5th and searching to try and close to the back of these guys that we're watching right now. It is Coulter West. It is Kevin Fry. They're squabbling over 3rd and 4th positions. Top 2 cars have run away. Curious. Incredible. The amount of confidence that he seems to have with his car at this point in time. He's just slid through the field and now running away. 1.6 seconds clear of the number 17 in second. Some fighting going on between Brandon Surratt and James Hensler, but here comes the move from Bryce Bailey. He's looking to the inside, but nothing doing, at least for now.
I don't know if you're going to say that. He's going to at least force West into playing defensive or even make a mistake. And West may want to try and dispatch Fry here. I'm wondering if almost Fry is holding him up more than he is slowing down to Bailey.
I think, though, if I'm West, I know where I want to run and I know where I don't want to run. So it's about just trying to be comfortable. Bit of a bobble from Kevin Fry. Does it open the door for Coulter West? Not just yet. Bryce Bailey has just a couple of opportunities left to keep his hopes alive.
Fry's struggling. He's really struggling. That rear end is just cooked. Here comes West to the inside. Is Bailey going to get a 2-for-1 special?
Yellow flag at potentially the most interesting of times. I think it's Joshua Cotton that has ended up bringing out the yellow flag for the first time in the C main. Number of opportunities that we could have seen it come out, but instead it will be a 1-lap shootout to the checkered flag here.
And that's not what the doctor ordered, I don't think, for Fry or West. That is exactly what Bryce Bailey wanted to see, though. A chance to get a big jump and a dive going into turn 1.
So let's dial up our RaceSpotTV replay machine, and here you go, Cotton ripping the outside wall, and well, that, I'm not sure who that was, but really nowhere that Cotton could have gone at that point in time. He just ran into that car. No time to react. That is the danger of sprint car racing, ultimately, the speeds that you sometimes carry at a track like this. It was Miles Jansen that was that car involved there. You can see the number 40 in the session, number 17 on his wing. Ultimately, I think both of those cars are now retired from the action.
Yeah, when you end up end over end, it's not going to be ideal, I think, for all. And it had a very similar paint scheme to the 17. I believe same team for Jansen and Bornhorst, but fortunately not meant to be. And this is also a little scary, I think, if you're the 17 car, because, like, you have a chance maybe to pass the 7 and possibly move 1 grid spot up. But I think if these two know their place and know, like, hey, we outclassed the rest of the field already, do they risk it to fight each other?
I'd say no. I'd say we know that Cure and Bornhorst are the class of the field in the way that they've worked their way up. 11 spots gained for Cure, 8 for Bornhorst right behind. Be careful. Do not throw your chance at competing in our feature event away. It's going to be the battle between Fry, West, and Bailey that we keep our eyes on as we're back to the green flag action. It will indeed be a 1-lap shootout. It's Bailey trying to look to the inside of Kevin Fry. They bump, they bobble, opens the door for a number of other cars. Put Brandon Surratt in that final transfer position, but it might also be James Hensler that gets the move done. It's a run to the line. Who gets it? It is Surratt, that final transfer spot. 1-lap shootout, Jonathan, and what a shootout it was.
That was a redemption from Surratt, who started in the first 3 positions, fell all the way to 8th, and thankfully was able to recover there, but for Bryce Bailey, you have to feel for him. He felt like he got a move done, to the inside and just contact.
And so here you go, Kure, Bornhorst, West, and Surratt into our final of the Consolations. Rest of the drivers watching on from the sidelines. Here we go then. This is where the pressure is on. 16 laps. 4 drivers advance to the 35-lap feature. Steven Voselgang and Casey Wheeler share the front row with Keaton Tripp and Caleb McCurry 3rd and 4th. Sean Brown alongside Justin Sarns, they'll be in 5th and 6th positions, with Landon Cardoza, who we saw in the YouTube chat complaining about the state of the track. Wonder what he thinks about the state of the track now. He'll be alongside Tanner Thomas, 7th and 8th positions. 9th goes to Jacob Schneider with Matthew Goins in 10th position. Carlin Kure, the first of those cars that has worked their way through all of the alphabet suits into this final opportunity, alongside Joe Bornhorst, Coulter West, and Brandon Surratt. All eyes, I think, right now, Jonathan, focused on Carlin Kure. He has been a machine in these consolation races. Would not be surprised if he works himself into that 35-lap feature.
I don't want to count out Landon Cardoza, though. Again, he's in Division 1 second place in the point standings in the World of Outlaw Series. This guy knows how to race, and I think starting in this B-main has got to be frustrating for him, but he knows, like, this is a field he can potentially overtake. However, like, there's some guys that have shown up some really good races in the field. I thought Tripp had a really good heat. He's starting 3rd. At 58, one of the lowest ranked drivers in this field, really put on a good show to try and get 4th. He's in 6th. And again, Kure and Bornhorst made up so much ground. It's a pretty big field to try and fight through just to get in that last A main.
Looks like we've got a couple of drivers representing, or not representing Team ABR, because I've just noticed it's not Team ABR, it's ABR Setup Shop. So clearly, Alex Bergeron has a knack for building the fast setups and sharing them with the rest of his competitors. But here we go. It is 16 laps to decide things. We are underway for our B main, already fanning themselves out 3 wide as they rip around the dirt here at the Knoxville Raceway. It is still Voselgang out front. It is Tripp and Brown squabbling for 2nd and 3rd position. Caution is already out. It's Casey Wheeler that is around.
I think for Tripp and Brown, those were both good starts, and I think we're going to have to wait and see how everyone else lines up. Because on my timing screen, did Carlin Kure just pick up another, like, 8 spots?
Now,
that's Cardoza as well. That's not a good way to start.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was Cardoza. You're just seeing the unfortunate things that happen with our timing screen when we go dirt track racing here, Jonathan, where it throws drivers around and really mixes things up under the cautions and confuses us ultimately here in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth.
I mean, that start was chaotic because there were 4 wide coming out of turn 2, so I don't blame timing for being confused because I think everyone was a little confused after that. And unfortunately, Wheeler, who started towards the front, that's really frustrating. When you're starting at the front, you're in that transfer spot already for the B main to go to the main show, and now you got to work your way back.
So 1 lap will be down, still 15 to go. Just hoping it's not such a stop and start affair here in our B main. And really, it's been a long time for some of these drivers, Jonathan. If you qualified through to the feature in heat number 1, you've been sitting on the sidelines for about an hour at this point in time.
Well, I think it's almost worse if you're in this B main because you still have the anxiousness of I don't even know if I'm in that main show. I don't know if this waiting has been worth it yet. And I think that's why some of these guys are antsy. I think that's why Wheeler's a bit antsy and some of these guys are a bit antsy. But I think if everyone is just calm, everyone tries to just take a deep breath, they can get through this and really try and plot out their race. And also, they just need a green flag lap. I think we've seen like a case of yellow feeder. Cautions do breed cautions around here.
Oh, don't say stuff like that, Jonathan. Don't say stuff like that.
I'm just watching dirt racing, man. I'm just seeing what I'm saying. Saying what I'm seeing.
You're 100% right there as we get back to the action. Jacob Klein points out very correctly that this is the slickest the track will be all night long. We'll get the reset once we finish this B main. But out front, Vogelsong looking comfortable. Keaton Tripp, Sean Brown, 2nd and 3rd. There's a bit of a bobble from Keaton Tripp. Does that open the door for Sean Brown? I think it just about does. Brown's now into 2nd, but watching on behind, Caleb McCurry, Landon Cardoza,
Big
and Matt.
Crash.
Oh, big crash. You're right. And I think that's taken out someone I think we were thinking might be very strong as Carlin Kure just come unstuck from some of that action.
I think the 58 of Starnes was side by side with Cardoza, and I don't know if he just got loose or if Goins got in the back of him. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on the replay as things calm down and slow down again. And you're right, it is the slickest, so that means it's even harder to avoid some of these accidents and stay out of trouble.
Our RaceSpotTV replay machine is getting a lot of work here, aka Tyler Maxon, our producer, who, for those wondering, is not just a sim racing producer, he is also a real-world competitor. No, he doesn't race on dirt track races, but he does compete in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge alongside Copeland Motorsports in a Hyundai Veloster TCR. So it's Justin Starnes that starts the chaos. Oh, he goes around, and indeed, Kalen Cure does get mixed up in that one, but I think relatively minor, and he might be completely unscathed at that point in time. Only about a lap or so that we got under the green flag before the pace truck was pulled back out onto track. Cautions do breed cautions, Jonathan, but all 14 cars, I should say, still out there on the track. That is the thing that I think breeds cautions that little bit more. The fact that we're not getting cars that are dropping by the wayside, so plenty of competitors looking to advance from those 4 transfer spots.
Kind of wondering how that 58 is still together. He went under the fence. Like, that was a pretty heavy hit for Justin Starnes. But also, shout out to Tyler Maxon leading your lap or 2 at Road America, one of my favorite tracks. Good work there for you. But we just gotta, I think we just need green flag laps, I think, for a few of these guys to just kind of space themselves out and get comfortable. And again, a lot of these guys, they're anxious. We mentioned they've been sitting around for an hour. They don't know if they're in the main show. And some of these guys, they're not the highest ranked in the field. They want to show, hey, I can race with the big boys.
And so we wait for the pace truck to once more pull down onto pit road and get us racing once more. We just want to get a bit of a green flag run here, because I think that will open things up and really just stack up the field as Vogelsong does there as we get back to the action. Brown in second, Tripp in third, McCurry in fourth. Who is going to advance? Because you can see Justin Starnes and Landon Cardosa were side by side coming off the corner around the outside. Sean Brown trying to challenge for your race lead. He's riding the wall, making it work. It's Brown to the point of the field.
I don't know if those guys want to be fighting too hard. These guys back here are fighting hard. The 58 from being involved in that crash is just trying to hang on for his life. He's in the final transfer spot. McCurry now to the inside, and Cardozo just stuck behind him, dumps him, I think, going into the corner.
So chaos, and once more Starnes finds himself almost perpendicular to the track, but he gets it around, pointed in the right direction. Brown has scampered away. Vogelsong a full second back as we're watching that battle for the final transfer spot. It's McCurry sitting comfortable, Coulter West in fifth with Matthew McGowan and Landon Cardosa side by side and squabbling at this point in time. There you can see just out of shot as well is a number of other cars. Coulter West and Caleb McCurry still swapping around very slightly. The top 2 cars, Jonathan, have broken away. We may be looking at just an absolute scramble for those final couple of transfer positions. A sideways, oh, there's a bit more contact. We are still racing under green.
Yeah, and that's the caution. McCurry got sideways and got into Cardoza. Cardoza's just, the luck is just not on his side right now. He's just been beaten and bruised by things almost completely out of his control. You can't help that 39 sliding down, and that moves, I think, Coulter West into the transfer spot with Matthew Gowans.
I think you are right. I think indeed it would be that. Timing and scoring goes a bit crazy as Benny, the pace car driver, back out onto track halfway through this B main. So 8 laps still to go here once we get back to the action. Brown, what a move it was from him, Jonathan, to get around the outside of Stephen Vogelsong. I was not expecting him to really ride the wall that much and that aggressively, but he made it work, he made it stick. Look at this move back in, or the incident, I should say, that's brought out the caution. Cardosa really know where he could go and does a decent job to at least not get collected by any of the other drivers.
That's a decent job by Starnes, Wheeler, and Thomas to get out of the way as well. Good heads-up driving from them. We should also note that we got a red and white 8 there. That is not Carlin Cure. Carlin Cure is, in fact, retired. So, unfortunately, our hard chargers out of the race. But we still have that 17 who's still in a prime position. I believe he's now in 6th place with some of that chaos that unfolded in front of him.
I think he's in 7th, so he's up 5. Coulter West is up 8 from where he started in this B main. So, have been some drivers really using the action to work their way through, and I think just again an indication of who's prepared the best for, you know, a fresh track versus a slick track. We'll get that reset once we finish these 8 laps, it will be reset to a relatively fresh track state. We then also have a 5-minute warm-up session for the drivers, but there'll be a subsequent reset before we get back to racing. So ultimately, I think the drivers that have been waiting and watching for about an hour at this point in time, some of them even longer, might not necessarily be looking at this as very representative of the track that they are going to be racing around as we determine our first ever iRacing Knoxville champion. Pace truck is off. It's an early jump from Sean Brown. Oh, there's a bobble from second position. It stacks up the field very slightly. The 17er Joe Bornhorst was in the air for just a couple of seconds, but here we go. The battle for the transfer spot once again. 3 wide coming off the corner.
There's some bumps on that inside on the restart. Everyone was trying to play defensive and really guard the inside, and unfortunately they got a little bit too low, and now these transfer spots are all mixed up. Brown and Veslog still 1 and 2, but it's West, McCurry, and I think Goins is trying to get to the inside. Here's a big move from Tripp. Gets 3.
Oh! That's a big one. I think we may have
get 3 cars in a crash.
I think that's how we get the caution out once again. No, somehow we're still under green.
How does that 17 still going in a straight line? How is Bornhorst about to get a transfer spot? He was he not just sideways?
He was very sideways, and like I said, I saw him in the air, 2 tires, and not the tires that you necessarily expect running around, flying around in the air. So here we go. It is Bornhorst that has that final transfer position. Keaton Tripp in the challenge is trying to slide up the track. Right behind him, Goins and Cardoza squabbling and dueling it out, but really just costing themselves time. Hand over fist. Oh, there's a huge one. Caution is back out, and cars into the wall.
I think Tripp has taken some friends with him into the outside wall, unfortunately, and oof, that's just not a good. That's unfortunate because he got 3 and 1 done coming out of 2. Yeah, I think it's going to be turn 2 that does him in right here. Oh, he just innocent bystander. Actually,
a bit of a weird one there. Tripp, yeah, was running around on that outside line, and who is that on the inside that kind of slid up the track and really?
It'd be Matthew Goins slid up into Cardoza, who has left the session, and I can't blame him on that one.
Yeah, no, I don't think either of those drivers really had much they could do. Somehow Goins is still out there and running, and might actually still be right on the cusp of a transfer spot. So, ooh. That heats things up. It's now going to be a 4-lap run to the end of this race. This is going to be fun. This is really just intense. And we're getting word, Joe Bornhorst, a very impressive RC car driver, of course. Lots of people start back in you know, the smallest world of things. His livery is apparently an RC car as well. So always great to hear the stories of the unique personal touches that we get here on our iRacing liveries.
A personal touch, kind of unique personality to himself, and I do. My uncle was very much into RC racing, and a little RC track up by my old house. It was very nice to always go to on the weekends. But now this is an interesting problem. Now is that the top 4 have been out of trouble with no damage. I don't think I can name a car outside of that 5th on down that doesn't have damage.
And in that top 4, Coulter West is +11, Joe Bornhorst +8. Goins is +5, Surratt is +7. Plenty of drivers have managed to pick their way through all of the incidents that we've had so far. Here we go, though. It might just be 4 more laps to decide our 22-car field. Brown with another monster of a jump. Coulter West sits in 2nd spot with Vogelsong in 3rd. Bornhorst trying to apply that pressure to Vogelsong in front of him. Here we go across the line. It's Vogelsong down to the inside.
I think Vogelsong in that 47, I think he's struggling a lot for grip right now, and this may open the door for Goins, despite being kind of the cause of that last caution, maybe to sneak his way into the A main.
Bornhorst was actually down on the inside, excuse me there. Now trying to just challenge around the outside. What can the cars do, though? Bornhorst runs all the way to the wall, blocks off the run from Vogelsong. Vogelsong started at the front. He's now being challenged by Goins. Side by side, almost 3 wide off the corner. Just 1 lap to go after this.
Well, there was a last lap heroics from Surratt in his main to transfer here. There might be another last lap heroic. Here he comes to the inside. He might pick off Bornhorst and spoil his party.
Brown will advance, West will advance, but all eyes focus on those final 2 transfer spots. Who will come out on top? Is it Bornhorst and Vogelsong? They're looking comfortable right now. Oh, a bit of a bump, a little bit of a bobble, opens the door for Brandon Surratt, who got it at the line. I think
Surratt had it.
I think Surratt had it. Vogelsong has been bundled out. He'll be watching on from the sidelines. Our 22-car grid has been secured.
That was 2 last lap heroics from Surratt, and hats off to you, my boy. Like, that was amazing to survive that chaos. Look at the time difference between the two.
Incredible. The margins were just nothing at the end of the day. Vogelsong will be pretty disappointed, but Brown, West, Bornhorst, and Surratt will be ready to go here in our 35-lap feature. It is time for a quick break. First for the drivers, especially those who have been waiting on from the sidelines. They'll get that chance to roll themselves back out onto track. We're going to take a quick break here on RaceSpotTV. Don't go anywhere. The final round of the feature, I should say, of the 2021 iRacing Knoxville National right after this.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
It is time, 35 laps, 22 drivers, the first iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth is Jonathan Burke with Tyler Maxson down in the production truck controlling all of the action. Jonathan, it's been an intense evening of action. About 90 minutes have been passed, 6 heat races, then our alphabet soup where 4 drivers managed to work themselves to the tail end of this 22 grid. Now, it is all on the line as we go racing for 35 laps.
Yeah, it's going to be all on the line, and some of these guys that have been waiting around, sitting around, guys that we talked about in their heats, big names, they're going to have a chance to really go out and lay down some fast laps and really show the world what they have to offer. And it's going to be an exciting race. We have a lot of big names in this field, guys that have won World of Outlaw iRacing World Championships, guys that have won the race here at Knoxville, guys that are sitting high in the points currently in the regular seasons. It's going to be a fun field and going to be pretty interesting and unique to see everyone all on this track.
Got 2 drivers that have won here in that World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Championship Series. Alex Bergeron, a 2-time winner, of course, back in 2018 and 2019. Braden Eiler in 2020 managed to take the victory from this track. So 20 seconds before we get to the grid, Jonathan, I want to get an expectation from you. Let's start with the number of cautions that you're thinking about, and then we'll get to your race winner as well.
Over under, I give it a 5.
Okay, five is solid.
5, I think, is reasonable. I do feel like at the start, everyone's going to be a bit antsy because, again, we're waiting around for a little bit, and this happens a lot of times at big dirt races. I mean, you see this in big races all over the world. When you have a long red flag, everyone gets a little antsy, gets a bit nervous. They want to go at it. So I think at the start, we're going to have probably 1 or 2 quickies to begin.
Well, it is time. Let's take a look at our starting grid for the 2021 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. It will be Tyler Schell that brings us to the green flag. Alongside will be Clayton Tilley in the number 2 machine. Alex Bergeron, a multi-time world champion here on the iRacing Dirt. He'll be inside of Braden Shute on row number 2. Kenny Hoffman, Aiden Berlin, the drivers that won their heat, they'll complete the top 6 positions, while in 7th spot it will be Braden Eiler alongside Braden Fincell. Cody Wenzel, Dylan DeBono, they complete the top 10, with Paul Bryan and Alex Attard through 12th spot. Braith Kalin will line up in 13th, hopefully not unlucky number 13, with Zachary McKay next to him. Chris Lacey and Chad Burt 15th and 16th, with Jarrett Liebert and Jesse Dorcas alongside Sean Brown, Coulter West, Joe Bornhorst and Brandon Surrett. Those final 4 cars, the ones that worked their way through the alphabet soup. Joe Bornhorst, someone who I think is going to maybe be able to carve his way through the field. Jonathan, before we get to your prediction for race winner, I'm just going to be boring, by the way, and say Alex Bergeron. I do want to ask you what you think as the fireworks go off, what you think this track reset is going to do to the state of the race here, because it got progressively worse in terms of, wearing itself out. Now it's going to be back in effect to what it was like in heat number 1, and we really saw a single line for much of those first 3 heats.
It might be a single line for these first 10 laps, but remember, we have double the amount of cars that we had at the beginning of that track state now on the track, and we're going to have guys all over the place trying to look and get an opportunity to pass and make a move. It's going to deteriorate quickly. We're going to get a slick track within the last 5 laps or so pretty quickly.
I think with this many cars as well, as our producer Tyler Maxson is pointing out, it's going to slick off pretty quickly, and 22 cars, we might actually see lap traffic. No 4-wide salute here. That is something you only get to see at the sprint car capital of the world when the granddaddy of them all takes place in the real world. Instead, it is 2 wide, 11 rows of cars ready to rumble. The first iRacing Knoxville National is green, and we are underway. It's a great jump from Tyler Schell. Tilley already being challenged by Alex Bergeron, who is on the berm on the inside line and trying to sling his way to the race lead. Single file, the leader goes almost 3 wide behind him. Lap 1 is in the books, and it's been an exceptionally clean lap number 1.
Schell did just what he needed to do, but he got in the wall a little bit on that exit, and that opens the door, I think, for Bergeron to go to the inside. Tilley might pick him up, but those two fighting might keep Tyler Schell in the lead for now, and this mid-pack is going to get interesting in a hurry as everyone is trying to make up spots.
That's Braden Eiler already up 3 on this race start as he migrates from the low line now to the outside line. Bergeron looking comfortable as the caution is out for the first time today. It's Jarrett Liebert, it's Zachary McKay that have come together. I think McKay and Liebert both already have made their way into pit road. That might be day done. Now just 20 cars out there on track.
I think it was a good start, from everyone through the field. I think even at the back, this might just be a simple 1-2 collision.
Almost 3 wide. Ooh, McKay comes up the track very slightly. It's not just 2 cars that get involved there. I think it's just 2 cars that bear the brunt of the impact, as it were. McKay and Liebert coming off worst. And now the question is, how much damage are on some of these very, very rapid sprint cars? The first thing that for drivers who are maybe new to dirt racing here on the iRacing service, Jonathan, is just how much power these cars have. You put your throttle down to 100%, foot flat to the floor, and instantly you spin the tires and in effect do a wheelie as well. So we really are seeing the top level of sprint car drivers competing here. I'm not sure what the exact strength of field is, but basically every single driver is 3,000 I rating or higher.
Yeah, it's just you have so much power under these cars, and they're so light too. That makes them so delicate and tricky to handle, especially at a place like this where it is probably one of the most tricky dirt places in the world. There's not a lot of banking. It's a very flat surface. Not a lot of margin for error. as well for making these moves, for getting the timing, everything right. So yeah, we're seeing the best of the world go at it. And again, I think it was a really clean start. I think that was just a little hiccup we saw in the straightaway, but a very clean start, especially from the midfield. And for Tyler Schell, someone who I don't think either of us are kind of thinking is going to be a main competitor here, he's showing that, hey, you're going to have to pass me in order to get this win.
He's not making life easy for Tilly or Alex Bergeron. Tyler Schell is a World Championship competitor as well, but not necessarily of race-winning potential like we've seen from some of these. Oh, excuse me, no, he has won a race, just not at Knoxville, and now it's just slipped my memory as to where Schell has won before. We are back to the action, though, and it's once more a great launch from the cars out front. That's the car of Braden Eiler, looking a little bit lower than the rest of his competitors. It's single file up front. The rest of the cars trying to work their way in the mid-packers. Alex Bergeron looks to try and get on past Clayton Tilley.
Yeah, I think Tilly and Bergeron are going to have this little duel here until Schell kind of fades off. But Schell, I mean, he was the first to 1,000+ dirt oval wins on the service, so it's not like he is not a competitor. I just don't think we were expecting him to be this good early on with, you know, Bergeron and Tilly, a world record holder at times for Tilly and Bergeron and a champion. And also Eiler, you mentioned he was making spots up early. He's a little bit of a threat here. There's only a couple tenths off these two.
It was Tyler Schell that won at Williams Grove Speedway, and a third place right before that at the Kokomo Raceway. So very, very quick in the most recent edition of the iRacing World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car World Championship. But here comes that world champion. It's Alex Bergeron. He's clear for second, and now we'll have to see if Clayton Tilley can get the slide job done. He gets up into the path of Bergeron, the Canadian, back down the inside.
Canada versus Australia here in this fight, and it's a hard-fought fight between these two. They had a duel earlier this week where they were going back and forth for quite some time, and I think they're just going to go back and forth like this the entire race. However, Braden Eiler, and you mentioned it, he's the 2020 winner at the iRacing World of Outlaws Championship. He can still be a threat. He's sitting in 4th place. He's got a big gap to hop in, and here it comes down to the inside.
Throws it down the inside of Bergeron. I think the Canadian will hold strong around the outside. That track is slicking up. Eiler, in fact, slides just into the path of Eiler. Forces Bergeron to look back down to the inside. It is 10 laps in the books this time around. Still plenty of time to go. And these two competitors, both very, very quick at this track. Look at how Eiler is all the way up to the wall, riding that cushion. Bergeron gets the move done.
And they're both searching for grip. They're both searching high and low for it right now. And I know Bergeron just does not have the grip to contend with Tilly, but no one has the grip to contend with Tyler Schell. The Pennsylvania native is gone.
Almost contact between Bergeron and Eiler last time around, and you're right, Schell is now cleared off, about 4 car lengths clear of the chasing pack behind. Bergeron has managed to clear a bunch of cars behind us. Now we wait and see if lap traffic is going to be a big thing. Jarrett Liebert has rolled himself back out onto track. He's the only car who is currently considered lap traffic. But at this rate, Chad Burden 20th, 7 seconds adrift. He might be factored into the equation. This is more battling. Dylan DeBono getting on past Aiden Berlin. Berlin will have to try and fight this one back. This is the battle for 8th.
Two Australians fighting each other right here. This 03 trying to really make a statement. Get up maybe in that top 5, kind of destabilize a few of those guys. Shoot up there, trying to make a move. I'm really impressed how well Vinsel and Hoffman, they're a couple tenths off the top 4, but they've really held their ground early.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's lots of cars here that are really putting on a very good display, and I think as we head into the next World Championship campaign, a lot of drivers who really are making a name for themselves. Great to have them here featured on RaceSpotTV. Some interesting battles up and down through the field. This is Chris Lacey in 13th position, trying to look to the inside of Braith Kalin. Oh no, something's happened to Braden Eiler. Caution is out, and the previous race winner, dating back to 2020 at this track, has found himself in the outside wall.
Wondering if he tried to go for a move outside of turn 2 that just wasn't going to work or wasn't going to stick. I thought the caution was going to be for a second. Lacey getting into the back of the 54 ahead of him.
There is significant damage to Braden Eiler's car right now as we dial up the RaceSpotTV replay machine. You can see just sliding up the track, Bergeron just making him uncomfortable. And around that cushion, I don't think Eiler really necessarily had any fault of his own there. Just kind of looked like up the track he went and into the wall. It might actually look like his car is doing okay now, so we'll have to wait and see exactly where Braden Eiler will cycle himself out, because, like I mentioned, timing and scoring does like to go a little bit crazy under caution here. I think Braden Eiler is... Oh, no, he's going to be down near the tail end of the field potentially here.
Yeah, I think it's the one who caused the caution. I don't think he gets allowed to retain much of his positions, and he was just, I think, giving a little bit more space to Bergeron than he needed to, but Bergeron was also right in his blind spot. It's so hard to tell. You're so fast in these cars. You're so light. A simple mistake like that, and again, it was just, he was giving respect to the world champion. He was trying to give him room and just found himself in the cushion.
So it is lap 16. We have frozen things up here as, of course, caution laps do not count. Really enjoying the racing that we're seeing here, almost halfway through this feature event. 35 laps for these drivers to show us what they're made of, and it is Tyler Schell that is truly putting on a show out front, looking comfortable, even with the world champion right behind him. Clayton Tilley as well from the land down under. Must be a pretty early morning for Clayton Tilley right now as he tries to fend off the Canadian behind him. We are back to the action at this point in time. The track continues to evolve. Look further back. There are some moves being made. Bergeron already up to second.
I dispersed Tilley quickly, and I think DeBono was trying to get a jump on Finsel and Hoffman to really put himself in that league mix. Hoffman and Finsel just don't have the jumps, I think, on these restarts to contend with these top few in the bunch. But respectable fighting, I hear, for top 5, I think. That's going to be okay. Shoot, looking to the inside, able to get Hoffman, and now he's going to be released to try and go chase down the top 3.
They've broken away about 6 car lengths from these guys that are fighting. That Shoot just in front of Hoffman in the bright gold machine as the blue sprint car just chases him down. It will be lap 19, about to be in the books as Schell has built up a bit of a buffer and a bit of a cushion to Bergeron behind him. But Bergeron is clear of Tilley, and so now all eyes will be focused forward. Swap for the race lead. Bergeron slides up the track and tries to challenge, but nothing doing, at least for now. Schell holds on strong.
That 85 is impressing me with how smooth he's been able to be, but now that the track is looking up, is it coming into Bergeron's hand? Is it coming into Tilley's hands too? What can these two do? And it's unfortunate, it's a 3-horse race out front. It's a midfield fight is very, very intense right now, although Braden Shoot is coming up behind. We're going to see that gold 76 slowly, I think, move into this picture as this fight evolves.
He's doing pretty good, but now still a considerable amount behind these top 3 cars. The podium positions have broken away at the front. Still in control is Tyler Schell as Braden Eiler continues to try and drive his way back up through the field as Alex Attard has had some sort of an issue. Eiler is back into the wall. That will bring the yellow flag out once more. Unfortunate day then for that number 6 car as he goes end over end, lands on his roof, somehow then bounces back onto all 4 wheels. But we'll slow things down and restart it all again. There's the contact. Not much that Eiler could do initially, but he got away with that one. It was the second part of the contact that really forced him into the wall. The car that had spun around initially, by the way, was Alex Attard, who we did see very, very quick in his heat and really controlling portions of that race. Slow things down, Jonathan. Get our breaths here, and we're really hoping that cautions don't breed cautions at this point in time, because really it's looking like a very interesting run between Schell, Bergeron, and Tilley out front. Don't count out Shoot. Now that he's worked his way up into 4th, he might be trying to have a sniff of a podium.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate day, unfortunately, for that 6 machine. He was a threat, too, on top of Braden Eiler, and unfortunately, I'm a little confused on how the 54 was sideways at the entrance of 1, but that's a question I think we'll answer towards the end. But right now the question we have to ask is, who of these 4 up front can make a statement, and who maybe fighting 5th on back is someone we haven't talked about that could potentially steal something away?
Curious. I am curious about how this is going to go now. Track is still not necessarily as slick as we had potentially been speculating, but you can start to see that it's getting there. And I think by the time we get to lap 30, it might well and truly be in the state where we're not discount whoever is more comfortable running up high to be in control. And Bergeron is clearly one of the strongest competitors that we've got. It's not that we're trying to discount the likes of Schell or even Tilley behind, but do think that Bergeron, just so much experience under his belt here on iRacing, he knows what to do. He is also now trying to set up for the restart, I think, as the lights are off on the pace car. It will be a fun shootout to the end here. The inaugural iRacing Knoxville Nationals, just 7 days after the 60th running of the race in the real world. We will finally crown a champion here at the home of sprint car racing. It's a long hold. We are once again green flag racing. It is Tyler Schell that gets the action underway as Bergeron was a little bit cautious, and immediately caution is back out once more.
I think Schell is trying to show a little bit of his hand here, and unfortunately that caught the mid-pack in the back of the field off guard. They were expecting that 85 to book it, and he slowed up coming out of turn 4, and that's unfortunately what's going to lead to our third caution.
I am honestly not even sure exactly why we have the caution back out, if I'm being completely honest with you right now. It might be Brandon Surratt. I'm not exactly sure, but it was, like you said, maybe just by design, I should say, from Tyler Schell and the way that he was holding things up. Don't necessarily think that's what he would have wanted in getting the caution back out there, since caution laps do not count, but maybe just trying to try something different and hold the field as long as possible. So third caution in our feature race, and well, Benny, the pace car driver, like I said, keeping very, very busy.
He's got to make his pet check. He's got to put bread on the table. I think he was trying to defend that inside line because he's worried, I think, about a dive on the inside from Bergeron going into turn 1 and taking away his preferred line coming out of turn 2. And I don't know. It was just a stack up towards the rear of the field that caused that accident, and nothing much I don't think the mid-pack could do, because you saw people blasting on in, trying to get as much momentum going as possible.
Waiting for the lights to come off on your iRacing pace car, and for us to get ready to go racing once more here in Knoxville, Iowa. Do believe, by the way, Carl Larson is not he's not being busy. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say that. He is keeping very, very busy. He's gone from racing sprint cars to doing some late model competitions this weekend. And of course, he'll be in action tomorrow with the NASCAR Cup Series as they go racing at the Michigan International Raceway. Speedway. I always forget exactly what these various tracks are called here in the US, because all basically owned by the same person and always have different naming conventions. This time it's an early jump from Tyler Schell, trying to catch the rest of the field off guard. Doesn't though. It's Bergeron in close pursuit. Tilly running the outside line, trying to challenge for third position, but bumper to bumper, it is first and second positions.
I think Bergeron got a little bit held up there, and that might open the door for Tilly to come and grab second place. No, not yet. And again, we keep mentioning, don't count out Braden Shoot. At number 76 machine, the gold machine, may make a move, but here comes Bergeron. He's into the wall, I think, a little bit.
Sometimes normal when you think about someone like Bergeron. He's just so controlled. He knows when he's getting up to the wall. There's the gold machine of Shoot, just running Tilly up the track, trying to make something happen, but not close enough yet. That battle for third is the one to keep our eyes on, at least for the time being. Still, the laps tick away. We're getting that green flag run into the end. Shoot has dropped back very slightly as Bergeron has thrown the slide job out front. Schell back down underneath him, side by side for the race lead. Bergeron in control.
I think Schell's going to put the slide job right here. Can he take the preferred line away? No, he can't. Not able to clear. Oh, barely. Barely.
That was close. That was aggressive from both Schell and Bergeron as they both now run the outside line. You don't want to be where the other is, and ultimately they almost converged into one. Almost to 5 laps to go here. It's 6 to go this time around. I think Schell's in control here, Jonathan.
Schell is in control. I think he's shown his hand. He shows the line he wants to run. He shows he can fight back on the inside. Bergeron, I think, has to get him on the outside, has to get him in an unconventional line way to try and pass him. May try right here, almost into him.
These guys are as close as you want to be without making contact. It is 5 laps to go. 2.5 miles to decide the 2021 iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion. It's Schell from Bergeron, from Tilly, from Shoot. Berlin has worked his way up into 5th position alongside Brandon Finsell, but now gets passed by Dylan DeBono. It is single file at the front of the field, but you can see just how much of a gap they've built up to the cars behind.
And with a 5-car regulate, Berlin might be a little bit of a spoiler here for a podium, but here comes Bergeron. He's just trying to find a line to get around, and 85 is just strong now as the track is worn out.
Bergeron to the outside as Shoot now almost loses the position to Tilly. You can see they are scrapping hand and fist right behind. It is a two-horse race for victory here. It is Shell, it is Bergeron. Those are the two cars. It is 2 laps to go this time around. Who's going to come out on top, Jonathan? I need a prediction from you.
It's got to be Tyler Shell. He's been in control the entire way. Bergeron just can't find a way.
Still squabbling over third, but it's the white flag about to be in the air. Tyler Shell has led every single lap so far. Can Bergeron lead the one, the only lap that matters? The one that brings us to the checkered flag on the outside. Bergeron trying to get the run. He is side by side. It's neck and neck. Shell throws the slide job. Up the track he goes. Bergeron tries a slightly different line, but it's going to be Tyler Shell that wins the 2021 iRacing Knoxville champion. He writes himself into the history books. He's going to celebrate as the fireworks go off.
That is now 1,445 victories on dirt oval for Tyler Shell, and I think this one means the most because he had to work for it. Bergeron did not let him get away whatsoever. Just a 1/10 of a margin of victory, and Bergeron had a run. He had a run out of 4, just couldn't make it stick.
The gap at the line, 0.06 of a second. Bergeron tried all he might, but Tyler Shell, 1 victory in the World Championship, now a winner here in the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. He'll just be a little disappointed. It doesn't come along with the same purse that we see in the real world, over $1 million being handed out as he works his way towards victory lane. The Pennsylvania native, though, does take victory. He takes victory over a very impressive Alex Bergeron, who got on past Clayton Tilley in the early stages of the race, managed to get the move done then on that final restart, and dropped Tilley to the final step of the podium. Aiden Berlin comes across the line in 4th. It was 2 positions gained for him on the day, with Braden Shute having to fight his way back up through the field. He finishes in 5th position. Dylan DeBono +4 into 6th, with Braden Fincell 7th. Chris Lacey +7 on the day. Incredible run from him to get his way into 8th position, with Paul Bryan, fellow Australian, right behind him. Joe Bornhorst +11 after working his way through the alphabet soup, completes our top 10 with Corey Wenzel, Sean Brown, Braith Kalin, Brandon Surrett, and Kenny Hoffman, the rest of the top 15. Jesse Dorcas, Alex Attard, Chad Burt, and Coulter West complete the cars on the leading lap, with Jared Liebert in the 20th spot, 3 laps adrift from the rest of the field. Then we had some retirements. Braden Eiler, who had a very impressive run at some points during the race, just unlucky with some contact and some incidents by himself. He finishes in 21st. Zachary McKay, 22nd and final in today's race. Really great to see this event being brought to life on the iRacing service. Also great to have a true international flair, just like in the real world, where drivers from all over the world come here to Knoxville, Iowa to challenge themselves at the granddaddy of them all. It was great to have an Australian contingent making themselves known here in Knoxville. I believe, and I say I believe because I wasn't sure we were going to get any interviews, I think we have Tyler Shell standing by. Tyler, do you have a copy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Congratulations, man. The inaugural iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion. It was not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but you led every single lap. It was a close battle between you and Alex Bergeron at the line.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Really didn't know where to be honest. Like the last 15 laps, I was kind of just out there searching. I mean, he gave it all he had, but just couldn't find that little bit to give me.
How was it with the track reset? Of course, it slicked up progressively over the start. You had a rather long wait from, heat number 1 all the way to the feature, watching on with some of the action. What was it what you expected in how quickly it kind of slicked on over and how you were able then to work different lines? Because I really think the reset right before the race did mix things up a bit more than we expected here.
Yeah, that reset is just going to make the track change while you're racing a lot more than when you don't reset it because we all have a bunch of leagues we race in and kind of have an idea what the track's going to do. But whenever you have that reset, it just changes totally different, and you just have to be able to adapt to it and just be able to track the fast lane and just try to go there.
One final question then for you, Tyler, before we let you go off and celebrate is, hopefully coming towards another World Championship campaign, you got a victory last time around. How much are you looking forward to, racing once more in the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car World Championship? And what are your hopes then for maybe taking the challenge to the man that you beat here today?
I'm ready to do it, but I've learned in that series, everything is don't take for granted. Take what you can get, go in there with no expectations, and go out of there with everything you earned. I mean, I put everything I can into it. I just sometimes breaks and stuff don't go your way, but I'll put everything I can to try to get it. But if I can't, I can't. Just go in there and have fun.
6th in that World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car World Championship last season. Now a Knoxville Nationals winner. Congratulations, Tyler. Looking forward to seeing you more on RaceSpotTV.
Thank you.
Not just one interview, I think, that we have lined up, but we might have the Canadian Alex Bergeron and the world champion standing by. Alex, do you have a copy on us?
Yes, sir.
Well, Alex, it was a hard-fought race there. I mean, you were able to get past Clayton Tilley early on, or rather, I should say early in that last restart and try and challenge Tyler, but it just seemed like the way that the track had evolved after the reset right before that 35-lap feature didn't really give you too much room to work with, as it were.
No, we definitely had a lot of room. It's just, we won the morning's race of today, and the same competition. Shill was there, Tilly, everyone was there too. So, 2 races. Sadly, the one this morning was not broadcasted, but it was a close race, and we definitely had a fast car just like this morning's race. And the track with the weather was definitely a bit different in the morning race. It just seemed like the slider line was really good, but the bottom came in late, and it's really tough to pass, and trying to do a cut down there in the last corner was really good. Really thought it was going to work out, and it did. We came very short. Just it's part of racing too. So we won one, you won one. So it's just part of the race.
From your perspective, Alex, how great is it to have these dirt races being brought to life on the iRacing service? Yes, it's, the special events have typically been, the hallmarks of endurance races, iRacing Indy 500 and other big events. But now we've got this, we've got the Chili Bowl later this year. We've also got Crandon coming up, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully we'll get a few more of these, because I really think it's fun to see something different and show how diverse the iRacing service really is.
Yeah, for sure. You're right about that. It's fun to see, and it's great for us dirt racers to go out and have fun and race what we love, and to have these big races show up. It's really awesome to race, and I don't know how many people signed up for this week, but a lot of drivers try to race it, and we were only top 60 during the last server of the week, and it's definitely tough, but everyone try to be the best, and that's how we get better. And that's what I like. So definitely had a lot of fun this week, and hopefully next year we can win both races.
And as a 3-time World of Outlaws Sprint Car champion here on the iRacing service, what are your hopes as we hopefully are getting geared up for another World Championship campaign? Had a fun fight with Tyler Schell there, who also had a very impressive run last season in that World Championship. I imagine you're pretty excited to go back and defend your title.
Oh, for sure. I can't wait. We just have to keep working hard, and keep working harder every year. It's definitely a good series to race in. A lot of good competition, and we just always have to be ready and be on top of our game. So, we just gotta get ourselves ready and just try to have fun, just like the other years.
Congratulations, Alex, on your victory earlier today, and I guess your 2nd place here in this one. iRacing Knoxville Nationals have been so much fun, and, well, it doesn't look like just 2 interviews that we're going to get. We might have a 3rd one, so let's dial up Clayton Tilley. And Clayton, do you have a copy with us?
Yeah, mate.
Clayton, first up, I have to ask, just what time is it for you in Australia? Because it was great to have an international flair to today's event.
It is 11:12 a.m., bright and early.
Oh, so it's not too bad. I was commentating on a race earlier this morning where Dane Warren, a fellow Aussie, was up until about 3 a.m. in the morning trying to fight for a championship. So that's a little bit more appealing, I'd guess. From your perspective, how great was it to have a dirt race like this where drivers from all across the service were encouraged to run throughout the week? Now we had the 60-car super session, you know, working our way through heats, then the alphabet soup, and eventually a 35-lap feature. Yes, didn't necessarily go your way, but you got to duke it out with some of the best here on the service.
Yeah, mate. The event was good as a whole. We did really well in the qualifying nights throughout the week, which we kind of had been struggling up this year up until then. So we knocked out a good win. We won the biggest qualifier of the week, and we finished second behind Alex in another one and second behind Tyler in another one. So we did really well all week. So then once we got to here, it was kind of all the stress was off. It was just a matter of going out there and having fun and finishing the race. And yeah, we'll take a third with these guys. 2 pro drivers. They're two of the best in the sprint car series, so you can't really complain, especially when we got to duke it out with them for the first 25 laps.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think you could have done slightly differently? Because of course hindsight is 20/20, but it seemed like something when Alex got by you on that last restart, it was just a bit difficult for you to follow closely after that, and then I think maybe watching a bit behind as the guys closed on you. Do you think there was anything you could have done differently? Of course, the track was very different to how you would have driven during your heat, but ultimately, that's what makes dirt racing so exciting, and when you get those resets that can be so randomized here on the iRacing service, it really makes things that much more interesting.
Yeah, I think if we had just been a little bit better in qualifying, me and Tyler put in the exact same lap, and obviously he got quick time, so there was a 4th decimal there, which he beat me with. So if we had been a little bit better there, we could have started on the pole and probably dictated the race. To be honest, we've been pretty good when we start off the pole here and hard to pass. So I think if we had got to the front, I think if we definitely had got to the front in that first 25 laps, we probably could have really well and truly held on for that. I reckon that would have definitely been a hard one to get past me. But is what it is. I'll take a third with these guys. They're top notch.
Congratulations, man. It was a great run from you, and hopefully we'll see you in the World Championship ranks later this year.
That's the plans, mate. We're heading in the right direction. Just got to thank all my guys at Momentum Sim Sport and Dixon for spotting me tonight. He's done a great job all week helping me out. And obviously all my other guys too, Josh and Ross and Landon, all the other fellas that chip in, Brett, and all our sponsors too, speedshop51.com for all your setups, racecraft simulations, Vanderbilt Construction, Everything Dirt, CT Designs, Ultimate Dirt TV, Juiced Energy for hopping on board if you need any energy supplements, and everyone else that chips in. You guys for broadcasting, and iRacing for putting the event on. It's great. Cheers.
Congratulations, and I tell you what, already heading in the right direction in terms of World Championships, that's for sure, because the only driver to have mentioned some of his sponsors here today. Well, I think, Jonathan, it's probably time that we take a look at some of the highlights from that feature, because my oh my, if we watched some of the highlights throughout the course of the night, we'd be here for a while. Let's take a look first at the initial start, the only time we were too wide, and it was a great launch from Tyler Schell, and instantly Bergeron tried to get on past, but it wasn't easy, and Clayton Tilley really made his life difficult.
Yeah, and I think you heard them both talk about it in their interviews. Track position was super key, and I think that's why this fight was so intense early on between those two.
And, well, I think that's a replay of the start itself again, if I'm not entirely mistaken. We'll have to... Oh, here we go. There's some more replays coming up right now. And that was the first of the cautions. The only one that didn't involve that man, Braden Eiler, who was looking strong at times, but ultimately I just didn't have, I think, the luck that we really thought that he could have needed to have gotten a very good result. That was the second one for Eiler that ultimately sent him out of the running order. This was the restart that wasn't. Long hold from Schell that kind of stacked up the rest of the field and really contributed to a bit of carnage. That was Braden Shute, who had an impressive drive back up through the order at points in time. This was coming to the end. This was that fight up front that we really did enjoy. Bergeron trying to make something happen. Ultimately just a little bit too little, too late, and ultimately it's Tyler Schell that wins the iRacing Knoxville Nationals here in 2021. Yes, Bergeron has the other of the Super Session wins, but ultimately, Jonathan, it wasn't broadcasted, so are we really going to count it?
I don't think so, and I think at heart, like, he knows he got one, and I think Schell is just happy to edge him out here and get a nice solid win, and again, put some, you know, money into sociability towards maybe his campaign for championship season. Again, I mentioned it's one of the winningest guys on the dirt oval.
So let's take a look at the special event schedule one more time before we say goodbye here on RaceSpotTV. It's a mixed bag. Next time we'll be at the start of September, where we'll be covering the NASCAR race from Darlington. Of course, that will be part of the NASCAR iRacing series, so it's a season-long championship. It sees drivers competing all across the United States. Then we'll head to the land down under for the Bathurst 1000, one of my favorite events on the iRacing service. V8 supercars get some love. Then VCO and RaceSpotTV partner up for the Petit Le Mans. Coverage will be brought to you in partnership with Radio Show Limited and their wonderful team of commentators that are very busy today with a certain 24-hour race that is taking place in the French countryside. Then you've got races at the NASCAR finale at Phoenix, Suzuka, 10 hours, the Winter Derby and Chili Bowl. I'm really more excited for the likes of Crandon, the Winter Derby and Chili Bowl. They are oddballs in terms of the events that we've had typically on the iRacing special event calendar, Jonathan. It's really going to be fun to see how the iRacing team and the community around the iRacing service gets to enjoy those events.
It's just helping build up some of these communities, build up some of these events, and build up like some of the racing that you see. Because I remember when Dirt Oval was first introduced, there was only a handful of tracks, only a handful of guys really making a name, and now with so many tracks and a big event like this, it brings people out. And now, you know, we have Dirt Road, we have the IWRX series. Like, there's so much to offer, and the fact that iRacing is putting out all these events is just a great testament to what they're trying to do and build the service and continue building communities.
Well, that's going to wrap up our coverage of the inaugural iRacing Knoxville Nationals. What fun that we had here, and hopefully we'll do it once more in 12 months' time. On behalf of the entire team at RaceSpotTV, we'd like to thank our partners at ATVO for providing us with our live timing and our graphic software. Shout out to Kevin Niatola, Simon Grossman, and Nick Thyssen for all their hard work. For the rest of the RaceSpotTV team, for my producer Tyler Maxon, for my co-commentator Jonathan Burke, my name is Arjuna Kenkipati. Thanks for watching. Good evening. But right now, it's Tyler Shell in Victory Lane here in Knoxville, Iowa.